I don't know if we're live. I think we're good. I think Danny froze up, so I'm gonna think we're live. Hope we're live. Um. Anyway, how are you, Mr. Direct? How are you doing today? I'll just float it a little bit, stretch just in case.
I'm good, man. I'm as good as we can be during COVID. So
That's a pretty solid answer. So, my
yeah,
name is Holden Stefan Roy. Um, I'm joy. Welcome to Bridge the Gap. This is the show where fundamentally we take very smart and interesting folk like you, Mr. Direct, who do who just live life, and across their life they accomplish different things. In your case, they're pretty spectacular things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay anything. It's just how I do the intro. And then we extract knowledge nuggets from your life and then share it with the world. Joining with me as a co-host is Mr. Flacco Bayo, Mr. Liddy Bro Flacco. That's how he
Litty
asked to be
bros.
branded. Who dropped a track yesterday and whatnot, a remix. So you can all check that out. And basically, it's an interesting dynamic because Flacco is from New York and knows a lot of things. Has worked with you. I actually, came across this battle that was produced by him that has you battling in it. So like there's connections in history with y'all. So he knows the things. And then you have me, who's from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and never been to New York City one time in my life. Only started watching rap battles about 4 months ago, 3 months ago, researching Iron Solomons and whatnot. And then I'm basically like the freshest, newest battle rap fan you might talk to in a minute. So I don't know very much except a lot of the things I could find on Google about you as I researched you a bit. So I'm a little bit aware. But for the record, before we go anywhere else, RapGrid is the coolest fucking resource for somebody like me ever. And I highly appreciate that existing. So that's so
I
amazing,
appreciate it.
honestly. So in case nobody else
Yeah,
says that ever,
appreciate it.
like I have been looking for a rap
Nah,
grid for like
don't feel like nobody says it to him. Like me and Direct have a whole thing, you know what I mean? Where I like act like, oh, he don't let me on his platform. Like, why don't you give me a show on your platform? Meanwhile, Direct has like given me like the green light. He's like, you could absolutely do a show on the platform. Just do the show and then we'll upload it. And I just never followed up with that. So he constantly gets lots of compliments on it, I'm pretty sure, because it's a very useful tool. And promotionally,
so
like
cool.
he's still intersecting with all the leagues out here. And so it's very relevant.
Yeah, so it's definitely like I'm looking forward to hearing about your journey because another thing is if you are trying to discover the history of battle rap coming into it through an internet landscape that starts in late 2020, it's hard to find any kind of clarity in terms of like what happened and when and all the things that went on and why decisions get made. And apparently you might be one of the magical people that is a Rosetta Stone of sorts to a lot of key moments in histories, given your involvement with grind time and everything else that you were around, just based on where you're from and how much you've given to the culture and stuff. So it really is a pleasure to have you here. Like when I posted, we were interviewing you. People was like, "Oh, Drex," they knew who you were, and I was like, "Oh, cool. This is gonna be a good one. People have heard of Drex. That's blessed." Um, so it really is just great to have you here, and I appreciate that a lot. So a good way to look at it is for those moments where you might hear people say shit like nah I mean, or in Canada we go basically that's the good times where we go and dig a little deeper and explore the nuances of these moments and share it with the world. Like one of the people on my chat is from Norway, so like for her it's
Oh,
like
dope.
everything's novel information and we can just share it with anyone everywhere. So it's my pleasure to have you here. And I do have a bit of a token first question I ask everybody just because it's kind of a fun way to start things. It's a bit of a story, and then when it lands we'll like kind of get into the conversation. I'll get all rolling and stuff, and it starts with my girlfriend washing the dishes one time, and she's like got her phone playing that Black Eyed Peas song, that I got a feeling, ooh, she's like dancing around and she's vibing and she's doing the dishes. And I was thinking like, yo, it's crazy how music has all these vibes and shit. And she's just kind of doing this dishes thing, this chores music now. But like 10 years ago, we were in the clubs drunk as fuck at 2 a.m, kind of dancing to that same very song, bopping around. And at one time that was club music, and now it's like chores or exercise music, this upbeat fun shit. But then I thought about all the club music today, and I'm like, yo, wait a second. All that club music today is just gonna become the chores music like 10 years from now, which I was like, that's kind
Oh
of
my
funny to
God.
me. But it made me think about musics and energies and all these different things. And it made me think about our own individual musical journeys in this game. And so much of it for us, when we think back, it's like teenage years. I like this, I like that. But to me, it starts like a little bit earlier than all that. It kind of goes all the way back to like when you're really, really young. Like I can remember being like 5 and my dad has these tapes and he's playing Led Zeppelins and he's playing really bad technos and all kinds of stuff. And my mom liked the bad discos. And I say bad as in bootleg knockoff, not like the quality
Yeah.
of music, like just bad disco. And like just different vibes were around. But this kind of stuff added into building an influence and creating a journey just for my music so that when I get into it, it already had this foundational landscape. So, well, I guess my question is what was it like when you were like super duper duper young and you had no control over the music in your life? And what did it sound like? What was the tech like? What was the ambiance of soundscapes that surrounded a young DRECT Williams?
That's actually a ill question, and I have a funny ass story about that. First, I want to say I appreciate the intro. I've never been called a Rosetta Stone, but that's kind of dope. I might run with that for a little while. You know what I mean? Because I definitely can answer a lot of questions that y'all may have. Real quick, is it kind of dark in here?
It
Is my
is. I
room
was
dark?
about to try to give you like a
A little
heads
bit.
up.
Throw up the bat signal. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna hit it right
No,
now.
no,
Hold on.
no. Go ahead. Take your time. Take your time.
No worries, man.
That's a good one
I
though.
will
Rosetta
cut
Stone
on.
of battle rap. I'm calling him. I like when I just finished. You know, at the beginning of the show when you do the intro and whatnot, and I'm logging on to all the profiles like on Facebook. I make sure to use my main profile that's logged into all these groups to share the video there. And I was sharing it as like we're interviewing DRECT, the godfather of modern day battle rap. That's what I've been, you know what I mean? Which is how I look at it. So yeah, either or Rosetta
Yeah.
Stone or
Right.
godfather of battle rap, buddy. You know what I mean? Take your pick.
This is better, right? I'm good.
Much better.
Yeah,
All
it's a
right,
lot
cool.
later. Yeah.
All right, cool. So, yeah, man. I guess when I was a kid, like my dad was super heavy on old school like P Funk, like George Clinton, the OJs. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Anything like the super. It's like the things that the real rappers back then look at as corny raps. He used to love. He used to eat that shit up. You know what I'm saying? I knew all the words to Flacco. You gonna know this? Showdown. It was uh between the Sugar Hill Gang and the Furious Five.
Oh
Yeah,
shit.
I used to
Jesus.
I used to know all the words to that type of shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
And then what's funny is I was a suburb kid. You know what I'm saying? So even though I had a lot of family in the city that I would visit often, like my earliest memories of music was like watching TRL. You know what I'm saying? And my brother, who was living in the city at that time and living in New York, he would strategically leave like Wu-Tang tapes and shit like that in the basement. So I discover them as I grew up. You know what I mean? So I went from watching the Spice Girls on TRL to listening to the greatest, really discovering like the purple tape in my basement.
Yo,
You know what I
that's
mean?
actually like a lit like that's a lit set. You had an older brother. I can
Mm-hmm.
empathize and relate. My older brother, um, he put me on to hip hop and just all the shit, growing up in the Bronx, right? But like it was even more of a gem when he was gone. He joined the Navy, right? When I was like about 8. And so like by the time I'm hitting like 13, like I'm getting to discover all his DC comic books that he left behind and
Right.
all his old like tapes that he would have given at school from a friend or just like a digital underground tape that he left, their first one, I think it was, or it might have been Sex Packets, which was the popular shit with Humpty Dance. But either way, you know, like discovering shit like that when you have no idea, right? To go from like young kid, you know, to like starting to go through those phases and have those gems in your home that you can find thanks to your brother, that's a blessing, yo.
Yeah, that shit was a lifesaver because
but especially that particular one. Like that's cool. Like it could have been like lame stuff that was left for you, but you got purple tape. That's like a cool thing, all things
hell
considered.
And you know, the crazy thing about it is that like sometimes I think back on it, I'm like, well, okay, like, yo, Flacco, you remember how like BT wouldn't come up in certain areas? So I lived in one of them areas where we was late to BET. You know what I'm saying? So if I didn't find it in the basement, I didn't know what it was. You know what I'm saying? Or if I didn't like randomly like you remember going to the record store and just like buying an album because the cover looked cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I didn't do that, it was over for me. You know
that was how I ended up discovering Kool Keith. The covers just look cool to me.
What was it the joint with the what was it the oncologist joint with the skeleton?
Dr. Octagon, I think, or Dr.
Yeah, Dr. Octagon with the skeleton with the stethoscope.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Nah, I love Kool Keith just because right, like I discovered it like that, right? Just discovering it because your artwork looks cool, your album cover looks cool, but then to like this like delve into Kool Keith and how he would do these, like he's kind of like the godfather of Blueface, no? Like kind of the godfather of off kilter, off beat type of on beat rapping, right? And he's the godfather essentially of like the alias upon alias upon alias, and not allowing yourself to get strictly into one contract. Like he did a contract under Kool Keith, he'd do a contract as Dr. Octagon, he'd do a contract as Black Elvis, and it's just like he'd just be like, yeah, no, this is my new name, I'm Black Elvis. It's just like you're just getting another check. I'm not mad at you, baby.
I'm just glad I didn't just. It was like I spent another extra 2 years watching NSYNC and Backstreet Boys on TRL. It would have been over for me. You know what I'm saying? So I found a purple tape at the right time. I got to thank Raekwon one day. You know what I'm saying?
Bless.
That's amazing. That's cool though. So basically you had the TV going on, but what I didn't know before was that BET wasn't widespread. So I got another question that's related to the first question, and it's, where are you from?
I'm from, well, I say Boston, Massachusetts, but I'm actually born in Lowell, Massachusetts. But my grandfather and grandmother from the South, Mississippi and Alabama. And, you know, most of my family ended up in this place called Lowell, Massachusetts. They call it Mill City. You know what I mean? If you're familiar. And at a young age, I moved to Plymouth, Massachusetts, where the Plymouth Rock was. And I spent like middle school, elementary school, and high school out there. Then at a portion of my high school, I moved to Boston and was going all the way back to Plymouth, and this place called Carver for high school. Okay. And then as soon as I now go ahead.
I was gonna say we definitely want to go back to being young though and ask a couple more questions just about that era of your life still, because often we find out some nifty stuff. Like, were you into dancing when you were like 5, or were you guys into like show routines? Was there stuff going on like that when you were super young?
You know what's funny? I used to play basketball. I did karate, and I did nice. For like 15 years. I had a black belt, probably as early as you can get it. I did something called Goju, and which is gonna bring us back to the homie Swave Sever. When I met him, him and his father practiced Goju, and that's something we connected on. Closed hand, empty fist is what it means. And then I also played the piano. And then at some point, I started jumping around the house battle rapping.
When did you start playing the piano? So when did you start the piano?
Maybe like 12? No, maybe
that was a subtle stunt,
that.
By the way. That was a subtle stunt. I like that.
Yeah. No, I think that's shit. Piano might have been before that, because I played the piano for like 10 years before college. It was probably a couple years before that. But yeah, I used to do karate, play piano all day, and play
Oh,
basketball.
that's mad fresh.
Yeah,
That is. And
That's
where'd
super
you
cool
grow up?
though.
Did you
No,
tell us where you were growing up?
yeah.
Plymouth.
So I
Was
grew
it
up in
Plymouth?
Plymouth, Massachusetts, but
Plymouth.
I was
Right.
born in Lowell. Majority of my family is in Lowell, and my I lived in Boston for a time during high school, and I had a lot of family members spread out, and my brother would move a lot growing up. So I would be, what I'm saying, I used to be like, oh my God, I can't stand this place. Well, as soon as I hit college, I'm out. But like every summer, I'd be in Jersey, I'd be in Vegas, New York. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people,
Mm.
even like when they meet me, people can't guess where I'm from because I've been worldly. Like a lot of people from New York think I'm from New York.
Yeah,
I'm like, nah, man, I'm from
Dama's
Boston.
here. She's in the audience, and she's like, I thought D was from Brooklyn.
Nah,
Yeah.
nah, nah.
I
Nah, but
was.
I claim Boston because hip hop Boston, we don't have as many rappers as New York.
You
You
don't
know what I'm
have
saying?
no, one of my closest friends, right? His
Yeah.
family, him and his whole family is deeply entrenched in Boston, deeply connected to the streets out there.
Mm-hmm.
And also they were a part, he was a part of a lot of protest stuff and all that in the 90s when it wasn't cool, right? When that wasn't the
Mm.
way. Um, and like I constantly poke fun at him about the fact that, like, yeah, Boston, uh you guys don't have a major mainstream artist that's from Boston and claimed you guys the way, like you guys had Marky Mark, um, Guru,
I'm waiting for you to
and
say it. Go ahead, say
Benzino, the Hangman Three,
it.
Almighty RSO, fam. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listen, put some respect on Benzino's name. Years later, turns out he was not that crazy and he was not that wrong about Eminem. Know what I mean? Um, but
Wow.
but but I'm just saying, like, honestly, right? All those names, much respect due to them, right? But I don't think that anybody in Boston is like dying to, like, Guru's probably the only name that Boston would claim proudly, right? But it's also
Mm-hmm.
one of those things where, like, it's not like Guru really did a lot of like shouting out to Boston, claiming Boston in his records, just heavy entrenching Boston in his sound. So Boston definitely, and Massachusetts as a whole, right? Like, because of that, doesn't have that.
Right. It's crazy because we have people, what I'm saying, we have the ST the squad, like terminology. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Big Shug, Ed OGs.
At OG,
We got Joyner Lucas. You know what I mean? So we have
Hmm.
people from
feel free to not
Massachusetts.
claim Jonah.
What'd you say?
Feel free to not claim Jonah.
Yo, one of those crazy. I know a lot of people felt either way about Joyner, but like, yo, the Will Smith shit was ill.
Nah,
He got me.
everything that he's doing is ill. Like, I gotta give him
Yeah.
respect. Like for as much as I don't like taste wise musically, for as much as I'm not a fan of like Hobson, Joyner, Logic, Russ, guys in their lane, like I also wouldn't ever disrespect them. Like, they're at the position that they're at because they earned it and they worked hard for it. And they're
Right.
not trash. If they were trash, they wouldn't be in the positions that they're in.
And we in a different era anyway. These rappers seem to be coming out of everywhere in the world. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Where's your boy Jack Harlow? He's from like Kansas or some shit like that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like now everybody's coming from everywhere. We got rappers from Australia and shit. So you
Hopefully.
know it is what it is. But Boston got all these sports championships, so we're gonna wear it proud and we're gonna talk our shit. You know what I'm saying?
Facts. I already know.
Yeah,
That's what's up
it's
though.
worth
So
it. But
Lowell
yeah,
is
I
not
do
far from
wanna
Boston.
fair. I do wanna bring it back though, because we gotta explore more of your young days, because
Right, right.
it's what builds the foundation for all the shit in your life. Were you reading a lot when you were young?
Yeah, I should read a lot. I had a family that would give me $1 for reading a book. You know what I mean? And then um,
Yo,
yeah, I get $1 for reading a book, and then when the books got bigger, I get five. And then when I started reading too much, it was like, all right, chill. You know what I'm
it's
saying? So
hilarious. But yo, I
I was
encourage
always
that.
that
That's a great
kid.
idea.
I was always that kid that read books and then messed around and read the instruction manual to every damn electronic and all that other shit. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm definitely I like to read. Now I like to read more on the internet than I do open actual books and listen to audio books. But yeah, I'm definitely a reader.
So were you a drawer back in the day?
Yeah, I actually was. I'm not good at just like freehand and shit, like off the top, but like I could look at almost anything. Like I used to get, remember them Game Pro and electronic gaming monthly magazines and Nintendo Power and all that. I used to just open up the pages and
Yep.
and draw anything in there. You know what I mean? I could mimic any drawing I saw, so I couldn't
I
make up
used
my
to do
own
the same
characters.
thing. I used
Yeah.
to draw the X-Men cards that you would
Oh
collect,
shit.
and I would just draw them like small ass images, like
That's
big.
serious.
Yo, this is ill. I never get any of these
Yeah.
questions, but you're making me think about some shit that I haven't thought about in years.
That's why, not for
That's the
nothing,
goal. It's
to interrupt you, Holden, right? Purposely to interrupt you.
sorry, you can do that.
That's where like this all kind of was born from, bro. Like I did an album, and the guy that mixed the album was from Montreal, Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
What up, Merker?
shouts to Merker Studios. And so Merker, he's just the type of guy that doesn't usually share all the stuff that he works on. He rarely shares stuff that he works on,
Big never
but he
shares.
shared our project, the Liddy Bros thing. And when he shared our project, that made Holden take notice. And so Holden was
Okay.
doing album reviews heavy. Now he's doing multiple things at once and not focusing solely on the album reviews, still doing them, but not focusing as heavily on them. But
Yeah.
like he was doing album reviews, and so he wanted to do an album review. He did an album review. When he did the album review, he did such a great job in noticing things that like nobody else that I given the albums for review to. And I was just like, yo, it'd be great to do an interview. He said, yeah, it would be great to do an interview. We interviewed. When I was done with the 4-hour interview, I felt a real
4
feeling
hour,
of
20
like
minutes.
4 hours and 20 minutes. I felt a real feeling of like, yo, this is incredible. Like I've never gotten to talk about these things. In battle rap, all we kind of ever talk about is battle rap. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Trust me, I know.
so it's just like it was very, and so me being who I am, I just immediately started thinking to myself like, uh, I want the homies to all feel like this. I want us to all like there's information. If you think that I had information, wait until you meet my friends that got even more, you know what I mean, information and
Yeah.
more depth they could bring to shit. And that's where it got cracking from, because Holden's just a great interviewer. He's really good at what he does. So I was just like, yo, bro, like let's link up, let's do something
Let's get
together.
it. Yeah.
Plus, it's just super interesting. I mean, these things all tie into elements from how I perceive it. So the drawing ties into graffiti, the dancing ties into the breakdancing, so it's like, I mean, usually I've noticed that a lot of people when they're like 5 actually do a whole bunch of shit. Like you'd be surprised the weird, complex answers I get of how really young people have incorporated artistic elements and showmanship into their like pre-10-year-old days that none of us ever think about. And to me, it's like, yo, I might have kids. What should I be doing? Like it's like literally
Yeah.
I'm doing some like research here to look into it, but it's also part of your journey. Like then when we talk about high school and you're building on it, it's always tied into what happened when you were 5. And when we talk about when you start your shit for reals, it's always tied into that shit. And like to me, and I think a lot of people, because like I'm really not the like super battle rap guy. I had to understand battle rap interviews to get that they're kind of like half promo and a bunch of other shit, right? Like I'm like, I don't know what these questions are. They don't make no sense to me. Why don't we do the version of it where like I get to talk to the guy who's a person and did a whole bunch of stuff in their life, which includes all these battle rap accomplishments and whatnot. And
Right.
then rap grade is just so that's just so cool to me. Like like how that can't like that's like to me at least that's like the super like I mean and not to say grind time's not like super impressive and cool, but I mean all of it is. It's just about like we all
All of
empathize
it
with
is
different things differently. I mean,
very
yeah.
impressive,
So
very
like it's
impressive
just
career.
yeah, like so just to like also go back to that and okay, so you can draw like Marvel characters with like on top of it all. It's like that's dope, man. That just makes you
On top of
a
reading wild
bigger
books because
legend.
he was getting paid for it, which I'm not mad at.
That's the
I
era.
used to be. I told the
Literally,
story on
nobody
here
said that in my life.
about being. I would have to read the Encyclopedia Britannica when I would get on punishment, which was my entire childhood. Because I
Yo,
was a
my
horrible
dad
kid.
was like,
And
yo,
then
my dad was like, if you want a Game Boy or a Nintendo 64, you're gonna have to read your way to it $1 at a time. Like, oh my
Yo,
god.
yo, but
yo,
like
but you
if
know
you
what?
think
Like,
about it,
for as
that's
much as like back then we
so
might have looked
smart.
at it, my fault. As much as we might
No,
have looked at it like, fuck, what is this? Like, blessings to our parents for getting us to read. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that. I'm pretty sure you also went to school and weren't embarrassed to read in front of the class,
yeah,
thanks
yeah,
to shit like that. You know,
yeah.
shit like that.
mm. No, I think it's dope just to go through it. So my next question, and because once we established the basics of, oh, I never actually asked about like on a more musical front, because I know you can spit some bars. I done seen this
Mhm.
very impressive 2019 cipher that literally, my guy, wow, that's all I can say about it. It's just you were dropping
Appreciate
knowledge.
you.
It was wavy. It was
One?
also
Which one
execution.
was it?
The one that's in your Instagram bio that you conveniently link, the 2019 radio thing where you have some other alias. It says your name,
Oh, Wavy Days.
aka Young. That's the one. And then
Yeah.
I watched that, and then we rolled it back a bit because your Baby Shark bar was so fucking big to me. You gotta understand. I fucking love Baby Shark. I don't have kids. To me, it's just a banger because it really is. If you don't have kids, and then you drop that in so flawlessly, and I'm like, yo, that's like modern, relevant, and he's goofing on the shit. Like, yo, every parent in the room glared at you, and I was loving it. I don't know. It was just a good moment. I know that might not be the one you're expecting, but honestly, it was super impressive. I got a little distracted with that. But yeah, were you interested in like singing and rappings when you were like 5? Were you like one of those kids that was singing around the house, or was you just like a
Yeah.
consumer that had it going around?
I was definitely singing around the house. You know what I mean? And at some point, like I was always just really good with words. You know what I'm saying? I was always really like sometimes if you see my like I have a different demeanor when I'm in like battle rap, executive, business guy mode than I do like personally.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like Flacco knows being around me personally is not the same as watching an interview of mine. You know what I'm saying? And like I just growing up, like I was the kid in class, like always talking, always doing whatever. And at some point, like I don't know if I can really pinpoint. All right, check this out. So Slick Rick had the song Lottie Dottie, right? And they played it on like throwback day on the radio. And I must have been in like fourth grade or something like that. And remember we could record, we could use the blank cassettes to record on our stereos. And I just recorded it. Like
Yeah.
something about it was so ill to me. You know what I mean? I recorded it. I sat there and practiced it and I memorized it. And I think from that, like I just started rapping my own shit and trying to memorize it. And like it wasn't like, oh, I want to be a rapper. It was just something I did. And I don't know, like I remember doing it in high school, but I don't know where it materialized before that. But like at some point I just ended up like battling my friends in school in the neighborhood or whatever. You know what I mean? And I remember my boy Ryan, he wrote a book about battle rap, right? And I wrote the forward to it. And I like recall this time and
That's cool.
where yeah,
That
yeah,
is
yeah.
cool.
So shout out to Ryan O'Leary. You know what I'm saying? That shit was dope. Did you read it, Flago?
Nah, I didn't
I got a copy for you. So
work. Bless.
you two holding. Um
That's amazing.
so basically I was in ninth grade, right? And I went to a school. This is like the big school where everyone I grew up with was there or whatever. And these two dudes, Mike and Larry, like Larry was real popular at the time. And they just started battling um like outside the lunchroom. And I noticed that like the whole school stopped whatever they was doing and just formed a huge circle around the whole school. There was even teachers watching and they was battling or whatever and they was not that good. You know what I mean? Like this shit was
He said they were not that good.
nah, it was you know what I'm saying? And I remember my boy Evan was nudging me because we used to always battle in the house and all this shit. And he was like, yo, you can cook these dudes. Go, go. And I was scared as shit. You know what I'm saying? But I seen how like, all the girls will run up and you know what I'm saying? It's like they had that moment where everybody in the room was admiring them.
Like
You know
the
what I mean?
athlete at school, like the
Yeah.
school athlete. Yeah.
Yeah. And like in my mind I was like, yo, I want that. I want that shit. And like
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was nice, especially like for a kid back then. And like he just kept nudging me like battle, 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 and I just wouldn't do it. And I remember when it stopped, I was like, damn, I should have did it. And I remember like, because back then, even though I wasn't scared to read in front of the class, I was more shy than I came to be. And like I just remember that shit like bothered me. And I switched schools the next year, and the first thing I did was take on this whole fucking different persona. I was rapping. Yo, you remember the like in school how they like sometimes they have like school have its own little TV studio where they let kids like talk about what's going on in the week and shit.
Mm-hmm.
They had me come in there and like rap and like film like a music video type joint for like a freestyle I had,
Oh,
and
that's
they
so
fucking
cool.
That's
played it
dope.
like they played it in the morning. You
That's
know what
so
I'm saying?
dope.
And
That's
the
so
whole
dope.
school was like, "Yo, that was fire."
Wait, what school is
Yeah,
this? Shout out to school. Shout out to
this is
school.
this is this is when I my sophomore year I switched from Plymouth North to Carver. And
Carver.
I did
Shouts to
that to play
Carver.
basketball. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, that is
yeah,
actually like fucking hype, and more schools should implement
yeah.
shit like that on the real reels.
Facts.
I don't. I know it was this kid named Ben. Shout out Ben. I know he follows me on Twitter still. And Ben like he's just this like goofy ass kid that was like in charge of the programming. And he was like, bro, come in and rap, man. And I was like, yeah, right. And he was like, no, for real. And I did it. And everyone in there was like, we gotta edit it, but we love that shit. And I was like, I didn't think nothing of it. And then one day, like a couple weeks later, they just played that shit. And I was like, I was addicted to that feeling. I was battling kids in school. I
Mhm.
remember even, I heard he passed away, so RIP to him. But this kid at my school, Brian, he had a cousin named Mikey Bowen, and me and my boys Mike and Kyle and them that I grew up with, Evan, like Brandon, we all went to Mikey Bowen's crib and they hyped up this big battle. Like, you the nicest dude in our school, but you can't beat Mikey Bowen. So, you know what I'm saying? It was like 50 people. Me and him battled for like 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? You remember back then they used to
Who
fucking
won?
change mental CD? Man, come on. You know I won. You know
Did
what I'm
not run
saying?
out of rhymes, huh?
You know what I mean? Nah, I was all freestyle back then.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I used to pride myself on being able to freestyle like everything. You know what I mean? There was a while where like I used to practice. I used to do that shit for like 3 hours a day. So it was super, super, super sharp. You know what I mean? And like at that point, like by the time I was like sophomore, junior in high school, like it was crazy. There just wasn't a lot of like freestyle competitions and shit. So I used to just watch whatever online and wish I lived somewhere where I could easily travel to these things. But
Yeah,
yeah, I was
let's talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
yeah.
What were you watching online back then? What was the online version of life when you say that?
All right. So I think that it, like mcbattles.com, right? But really before that, it's 106 in Park when they used to do Freestyle Friday. And we used to record all the gym battles and shit. So the poster boy, Jen, all them guys from the beginning. And then we moved to I remember seeing some of the Blaze battles on TV, but the MTV battle was what pushed it over the top. MTV, they had a battle where like you would get signed to Rockefeller in the end. And I think the one was Def Jam and one was Rockefeller. And they had this dude named Rain Man on the first one. And like I remember
Shouts
like
Rain.
everybody was talking about that. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody was talking about Rain Man and he cursed on TV and they kicked him out and shit. Then the Rockefeller one came and you had guys like Swan and Recognize on there. And then MTV's Fight Club popped up, right? So they were having these battles at the Mix Show Power Summit. If you remember what that is, that's like a it's like a big gathering of all the
I do not
DJs.
remember what that is.
It's like
Like
a con.
Okay, never mind.
yeah, yeah, it's a
Right.
con. It's
Okay,
like
yeah,
it's
okay, I know
like
what you're talking about.
yeah, like hip hop con. But
Mm-hmm.
all the rappers will go to meet the DJs, and this is back when you needed a DJ to get your music spun or played or put out a mixtape. And Fight Club every year they do like the $50,000, $100,000 battle, and a lot of them didn't come out, but like some of them leaked on the TV and like all that stuff. Like when everybody else was like watching fucking whatever reality shows were starting to the real world and shit like that. Like I literally was like battle rap, battle rap, battle rap, and it was like that up until like recently. You know what I mean? Like when everybody else was watching whatever, battle rap was like my secret thing that like I loved to death. So like I saw every battle from like the first 20 years of battle rap, like saw all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Unless it was something I couldn't be there for, like Roxanne Shante versus Busy B and shit like that. But I heard the audio a million times.
That's crazy. That's crazy that you
Yeah.
heard that audio.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
So like,
No, I know. I'm just saying, like before, I'm figuring that you did it before there was a YouTube.
Nah, I knew of the battle, but I heard the audio once YouTube came out. I downloaded it. I just download everything and memorize it.
Work.
that's a good question from Ill. How many of those battles did you see Poison Pen?
You want to know what's funny? Poison Pen, like I saw him in all the battles, but like until he brought it up one day, I didn't start counting. But yeah, he's in like almost anything you can imagine. You know what I mean? He, especially those old Scribble Jam battles, he's like the main one, throwing his towel in the air and folding over, laughing and shit like that. And then of course, when we started like the new era of battle rap, he was front and center at every fucking battle. But I think that Poison Pen got to be in at least like 40% of battle footage that exists.
Facts.
That's crazy to think about.
He's got it. He's
That's
had
a
to go to
lot
more
of footage.
And then the other thing is too, like back when they had mcbattles.com and Poison Pen was doing the stuff for the hook.com, he or for hook.com, he basically like he was hosting all of them. You know what I mean? So a lot of those first wave of battles that we first saw on the internet, like Poison Pen was standing on stage for most of them. So he's like super, I don't care what anyone says. Penn is like the super duper OG of battle rap. He was setting shit up. Like he's the reason Jen was on 106 in Park. Like he's the architect of a lot of shit.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts. Shouts to Poison Pen.
Basically, this whole like, shout out to Poison Pen. He's a really super interesting dude. I had the pleasure of talking to him too. So it adds a little context to know what you're talking about there. I now actually look for Poison Pen when I watch battle rap footage, and he's just there with various haircuts and styles throughout. Yeah, and it's cool to see how his style changes depending on the year.
The best one was he had an empanada. He had an empanada at a rap battle, and they was rapping about his empanada for like 2 years, man.
Yo, that was at that was at the inaugural draft
March Madness.
That was
it was draft league. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, it was the inaugural draft league event. We had an empanada league. We were in Brooklyn somewhere. We couldn't use the spot that we had gotten the okay from, and we just did the classic battle rap thing of like taking the whole crowd with us, walking a few blocks. We found a fucking park that was open, and we just set up shop and started fucking battling in the park, like.
Right.
And the empanada lady was on that block, and the empanada lady was right there and bought empanadas, and it was a wrap from there. It became battle rap folklore history.
Oh shit! Shout out to Penn though, man. He's the guy.
Facts.
So basically, if I understand correctly, you're like part of this wave of people who come into battle rap because of this wave of internet battle rap that's starting off at that time. Unless I'm misunderstanding it.
Okay, so what I'll say is it wasn't internet battle rap. What it was is there was these competitions, and when YouTube started gaining traction as a platform, fans who had the DVDs or the VHSs, they were like uploading the footage to YouTube. And I was really the first one to say, well, let me bring it back for a second. So I was part of this competition called the WRCs, right? It was a 2-on-2 rap battle tournament, and it was in 8 cities across the world, right? And it was the second season. The first season, they just had some in New York, and they had some in London. Then they spread it out. It was like, I think Melbourne, Australia, London, Houston, Atlanta, which I was in because I was going to school in Orlando at the time. Me and my man Hemi drove up to Atlanta. It was New York,
Shouts to
LA,
them.
and Detroit, right? So this competition, you saw a lot of people who ended up becoming, legends in battle rap later. But these were familiar faces from these little competitions and stuff that you would see in these little pieces of footage, right? So a lot of these guys became legendary because people were uploading their footage online, right? And so there was kind of an excitement as a fan, like, oh, I remember him, he's from that. Or like, I hope this dude is going to be in it. That was the first time that you saw a lot of people gathering on the internet and kind of like anticipating battles, right? So we did the WRC, we got second place in the Atlanta division. And like that whole network was
Well, can
crazy.
you just expand on what that is? Like
Yeah,
the
so
WRC, like how that worked out?
yeah,
Or what it
WRC
is
is the
exactly?
world rap championships. It's a 2-on-2. So basically I would think it was like 8 teams in each division of 2 people. You basically have to rap back and forth. You know what I mean? And at that time, shit wasn't really written. So you had to like find a partner you had chemistry with to freestyle back and forth, right? And that kind of became like the coolest new thing in battle rap. This whole 2-on-2 battle format, right? So this tag team shit. So the first year they had it was the Source and Immaculate won, right? And they became like Source and Immaculate were already doing local competitions that were getting uploaded online. And we knew they were good from these competitions and they had a name for themselves. And Immaculate actually, he won Scribble Jam one year. You know what I mean? Like no one really knew him like that on a national level. And he just fucking beat everybody that had a name and scribbled and he destroyed everybody. One Scribble Jam. So he had a name and people knew that the Source was like this little underground battle champion in Cali. And it was unique back then because the Source is like middle-aged white guy, you know what I'm saying, who rhymes all his syllables together. And people are like, yo, how is this dude winning? How is he saying the shit that he's saying? And so they teamed up together and they just fucking destroyed everyone. You know what I'm saying? And I think that moment when the Source and Immaculate won and they uploaded that footage to, now mind you, they didn't upload it to YouTube. They uploaded it to their website, right? So back then, like people didn't really understand the value of YouTube. It was basically like, they had Jump Off TV. They had this site where they used to do this night in London called the Jump Off. Like I think it was like the last Friday of every month, and they gained their name by they would have this fucking night where they would have like comedians, like booty shake battles, eating contests, rap battles, breakdance battles, like 5-on-5 basketball games. It was like this variety night in London. And it became one of the hottest things, like in the early 2000s. And then they kind of maneuvered from that into doing the World Rap Championships. It's kind of tied in with their brand of doing this variety of hip hop related and just urban related shit. And yeah, the Source and Ilmac won that, and I think they won like $10,000, and that was like the biggest prize in battle rap at the time. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, $10,000!" So it was a big thing. They gave these guys championship rings and shit like that. So when they did the second season, it's like everybody and their mama came out to battle, and the prize was 50,000 for the second one. So that's the one I entered, and that's when we started establishing a network. You know what I mean? That's when a lot of the people in the competition got to know each other. You know what I mean? And we all became friends through this battle rap thing. And that's when you realize, like, damn, I didn't know people were battling in this state. Damn, I didn't know this guy was still around. Kind of had that whole thing going. So competition happens, and then towards the end of the competition, you got Marv One and Quest McCody versus Ilmac and Thesaurus, which is like the most anticipated battle. And the guy that owned Jump Off, he tried to cheat, and so Marvin Quest stole the tapes out the camera, right?
This is the famous stolen tapes that we
this is
talked
like
about with Jay Smooth.
yeah,
Jay Smooth came on the show and he gave us because he was a judge, right?
Yeah.
So he gave us a little bit of backstory from
That's
his
a
perspective.
legendary judging panel. Like when you look back at it now, like, oh my god, that was like the greatest
Yeah, it was.
panel in battle rap history. And see, and that made it worse because I guess the judges voted on Marvin Quest or however they reported it wasn't what everybody voted. And they were like, man, I didn't vote for them. I voted for them. And the dude was kind of just like, yeah, I have the power to override it though. We just take your judgments into consideration. So while they were talking about this and everybody was arguing, like they just stole the tapes and was like, fuck that shit. It ain't coming out then. So that whole stolen tape situation basically led to like kind of like the downfall of the WRCs, because I know they were like the first company to really have some big sponsors on the line. I don't know if they lost their sponsors or what happened, but like a lot of the battles couldn't come out because you know you don't have footage of certain angles. You know what I mean? And they patched it together. Eventually they patched it together, but like that kind of killed their momentum. So you had me, who was still in college at the time, and I just kind of hit everybody up like, yo, like if I do my own battle league, will y'all battle? And everyone had nowhere to battle. We didn't know what the hell we were gonna do. You know what I mean? So everybody was like, yeah. So what I did was I started hitting up not only people that were in the WRC, I hit up people that I knew from 106 and Park, people from Smack DVD, people from Fight Club. And I had this vision of all right, how about we don't all rap with the Scribble Jam style? Like, what if we mix the Scribble Jam style with the street style? And then you'll get like all these new styles popping out. And that shit, man, the first video I uploaded, it got like 10,000 views. And at the time, oh, this is another thing I wanted to say too, right? I kind of skipped out on something. So this footage was eventually making its way to YouTube, but nobody was premiering their footage on YouTube, right? And me just being a techie guy, like I used to go on YouTube back then anyway and look at all this old battle footage, but also watch like other stuff. And I was like, YouTube seems like the place to put this out on. You know what I mean? Because it was gaining traction. And yeah, the first battle I did was at University of Central Florida, like in this little pavilion by a pond. There was like 6 people there. You know what I mean? There was 2 people that I knew locally. And you know, like I told everybody, hey, I want y'all to be a part of this battle league, but I was living in Florida. So I had to get local Florida people, and we had a little battle scene out there. So first battle we put up on YouTube had 10,000 views. And that's kind of what started the whole wave of uploading battles on YouTube. So even though I didn't start, I was the one that started putting battles on the internet. I feel like I was the one who took advantage of kind of like releasing battles via the internet, because I realized that you could count and track all your views and comments and stuff that way, you know? So yeah, it was
I mean,
it definitely was different.
that's no, but that's like really important. I don't think people understand how like hard it is to necessarily see that kind of a connection before other people like make it a normalized thing.
Mhm.
Um, like people tend to do things a certain way without like any kind of shade or anything, but we get kind of stuck in our ways. All of us have a lot of trouble adapting or embracing the changes, and especially as we get older and ways get more established and everything. So people see people popping off on their own websites, they see a YouTube coming and they don't understand what a YouTube's going to be. They're like, fuck that, I'm gonna put it here, but they don't realize everybody's on a YouTube. You see it a lot even today with like how people treat streaming services and things like that. You have this conversation to this day and just manifests everywhere. You see it with artists, you see it with everything, as people want to kind of have control without realizing that unfortunately people go where they go. So for you to be able to say with conviction that you started this wave of
He
leveraging
saw it.
YouTube
Hmm.
as your main place, like that is seminally a very powerful historical thing
Very
that needs to be like highlighted a little bit, because
highlighted and
as a content
documented.
marketer, I'm tripping a little bit going, that's some vision shit, man. Because yo, it took me
Yeah.
forever to think about YouTube the way I should have been thinking about YouTube. Like we're talking like the second half of the 2010s, like that's some serious shit. So
Yeah, I
I'm,
Yeah,
I'm
mean,
just
and
like, yo, kudos, man. You deserve all the flowers. Just for that, you're part of a wave of people that allow somebody like me to do what I'm doing today. And it ties
yes,
that deeply into
absolutely.
like my life.
Absolutely. He was a core part of what he did, essentially, was a core part of what helped, what part of, right? What helped really launched YouTube at the time. Real quick, DRECT, can you give us an idea of essentially what was on YouTube at that beginning that you were looking for?
Man, okay, so here's another thing, right? So like, there's certain celebrities that I might be friends with or cool with, and people will be like, "Man, how do you know this dude? How do you?" It's because you don't realize that we were all on YouTube at the beginning, like uploading shit. You know what I'm saying? And like,
So
That's
I didn't
like the
even
yo,
realize
mindset.
hold
that
up,
at
hold
first.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, now hold on.
So yo, that's like a big thing. I didn't even ever
Big,
once think about that,
huge,
right? Like, cause
huge.
Yeah.
yo, just by because the world manifests in ways where sometimes something like a YouTube gets recreated in something like a virtual reality in the very near future. Just throwing it out there, or a clubhouse
Mm-hmm.
would be another
Mm-hmm.
recent manifestation of something like this that just happened. So the idea of being somewhere where it's new and it's fresh and it's exciting and being a viable pioneer, because it's not just being there, it's being there and doing something interesting and valuable that will make a celebrity take notice of you and want to like be homeboys and whatnot, right? Like it's got to be a little bit more than just being present. So to pull that off and the seminal parts of YouTube, man, I'm a YouTube geek now. I fucking study the history of it and everything.
Yeah.
That, and you know what's crazy is that like wave you helped pioneer back then hit my life, right? Like up in Montreal. That's when a lot of people was talking and sharing it on Facebook. So like that's some far-reaching impact in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's
Actually,
like you having that direct hand.
I actually left out something really important. All right. So actually, I was wrong. I missed out on something. So before I came up with Grind Time, we were talking about, damn, what are we gonna do to replace the WRC? I went on YouTube and I saw these guys in Nova Scotia, Canada. They were called the Elements League, and it was like all these guys who went to the same high school
I
and
was
shit.
supposed to ask you about them.
Yeah, yeah, and they were battling at like the local boxing ring. And so like the biggest guy that you might know today from the Elements League would be Pat Stay, right? So why, mind you, these battles didn't have a lot of views, but I would watch the Elements League like a TV show, and I was like finally this like consistent battle rap, and like I knew every single dude. I watched all their battles 10 times. I mean, it was only like 20 of them. You know what I'm saying? And I would fucking sit there and wait months for the new event to happen. And I got in contact with the owner, and I like figured out because they used to always rap about this forum online called Hally Famous, because Halifax is in Nova Scotia, and
Yep.
I guess their local rap site is Hally Famous. So I fucking looked up Hally Famous, and I saw that like they would all talk about the battles in there, and I made this big list that was like a ranking system, right? And I like wrote like a little blog about everybody and like ranked all the rappers, and I sent it to them, and they were like, "Oh shit, like this is direct from the WRCs." You know what I mean? And it kind of was like I started having a relationship with those guys back then, right? But
Yo,
then,
stats.
yeah,
Real quick, like stats. You're like what I'm
So
hearing,
important.
right? In all this is that out of everybody, right? So you said that second season of the WRCs where you guys all kind of got to know each other and
right.
met all these battle rappers from different cities. There was how many cities?
Uh,
8, I think
eight,
you said.
yeah,
Eight
eight,
cities. Eight cities. And so every city at the very least had four battle rappers, right? Because
yeah.
you're gonna have to have a competition in that city.
So
So
16, because teams, 8 teams of two. Yeah,
8 teams of two. Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So a
copy.
yeah.
lot of
But
rappers. So this was like a like 16 per city. So that's
Plus, you got the guys that tried out, because there was guys that tried out and didn't make it. And
but
then the guys, yeah.
but the point that I'm trying to get to, right, is like out of all those guys that were there, right, you were the
Mhm.
one in particular that not only did you early on care so much that you paid attention and were searching the internet for battle rap, that you come across battle rap and fucking, which like is mind blowing to me, right? Because when I got to Grind Time, I was a little bit late, right? You guys were
Mhm.
already in full effect for a minute now. And I looked at you guys at that time like, wait, there's battle rap in Idaho? There's battle rap and there's battle. I
Right.
was like, the fuck? I was like, I'm a New Yorker, right? So I'm like, the fuck? We've been doing this. I've been doing this shit. What? who, where, what's happening? I'm not even aware, right? I'm still surface level aware, right? Like most New Yorkers, I cared about hip hop deeply, but there still was like these barriers maybe in place that you don't realize are not there. You're putting a barrier there by not caring enough to delve into deeply to the information where you did. You know,
so
like
check this out. I actually have Holden will like this, right? So I actually have a story, and like I just thought of this now. This is the first time I ever like spoke this out loud, but it's making sense with this interview, right? So my pops is a computer programmer, right? So we had fucking computers in the crib before people used the internet every day, right? So I would go on his computer and just like click shit and look at shit and like figure out, like I knew a Microsoft fucking Windows 95 computer like the back of my hand with no internet. So by the time the internet came out, like I was already
Windows
clicking on everything.
95, fam.
Yeah. So I remember Windows 98 was like the illest shit to me. You know what I'm saying? But so I would just click on his fucking computer and he had all these fucking JavaScript, C++ books before that shit was like applicable to the internet. You know what I'm saying? For at least for like the average person. And I used to just fucking read the shit and fucking click on shit. So I think like I was just like computer wise, I was so used to just clicking on shit and looking for stuff like that carried with me when we went into this new age of, you know what I'm saying, technology. So when it came to YouTube, I was just click. You know, they had conspiracy
you had a leg up on everybody else that is getting to things late, right? Again, these are barriers that you don't realize that I didn't have no barriers to what you were doing, right? Essentially. But because I don't have necessarily, let's say, a computer at my home. I had a computer, but all I did with it was make banners with like Lost Boy's name on it and like Mob Deep's name, like rap group names and shit, right? Like I did banners. Like I did not use it in that way. I mean, I also didn't have C++ books. I didn't have somebody in my family necessarily who were educated on it and maybe could, have literature around the house that maybe explains it a little bit more. But the fact that you had that made it that you were more adept at like taking the internet in ways that maybe other people weren't thinking about them yet, because they were still brand new to computers, brand new to the internet, brand new to all of it, and you had a little bit of a leg up on the competition.
But it's super interesting to me because you end up becoming this media amalgamator that effectively organizes information online and helps so many people because of that. And it makes me wonder if all the people who get to play with technology as kids today aren't just given this asset that allows them to be able to play in the digital sphere a lot more facilitated than people who are maybe held off from that to later points in life. Because man,
it's different now because there's like the mass consumption of iPhones and Galaxy phones and shit. Like, yo, fam, if I had that shit when I was a kid, I would have been a fucking rocket scientist. You know what I'm saying? I'd have been taking this shit apart. Fucking, I used to do all that type of shit, but with like Mac 1 computers and shit. You know what I'm saying? There's only so many components inside that shit. But like now, like that's why you see a lot of kids now like making money and teaching people how to do taxes on YouTube and shit. That's where it comes from. Like they just have access to way more technology than we did.
Wait,
you know what I mean?
All right, hold on. So one more time, what was on YouTube at that time?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So, all right, so I think at the time Andy Milonakis was on YouTube.
Okay.
I think he had started on some other websites, but Andy Milonakis was there. I think Timothy De La Ghetto was there. You know Tim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was mad conspiracy videos, right? So like I remember the fucking first time I heard about Anunnaki, I didn't sleep for like 3 days. Like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? It was Anunnaki videos, William Cooper videos. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like there weren't too many people that had like that would film TV shows and then like released them in seasons, kind of like what was the shit with Issa Rae that she had on YouTube? The shit that like spawned her whole career. You remember what that shit was called? Some Black Girl something.
You talking about
Awkward Black
my
Girl.
boy
Awkward
Hot
Black
used to
Girl.
watch that shit. My
Yeah,
boy
Awkward
Hot
Black
used to
Girl.
watch her show, Facts, on
Yeah.
YouTube.
So that came a little later, and then there was like other people that got super famous that came a little bit later, but really like they just had started putting music on there. You know what I mean? Like Vivo wasn't even out then. Remember how Vivo used to put up everybody's music video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't really like that then. It was people just uploading videos talking about shit or conspiracy videos, and then a little bit of music started to pop off on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? But it was still in the very, very beginning, people were still fucking watching music videos on TV.
Awkward Black Girl.
Yeah.
That's the name of Issa Rae's show on YouTube.
Yeah. So
Before
she came some years in, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
but yeah, this was like I probably was on YouTube like year 2 or 3 that it started getting popular.
That's crazy because I started watching YouTube in like 2007 or so, 8.
Mhm.
So it was all the early viral hits that would be like they're like the shoes video. So for me, like early YouTube music is the goofiest shit ever. It's all those parodies and all those
Oh,
really
Bangs, remember
weird.
Bangs that take you to the movies, girl? The dude from Africa.
Yes. Yeah, because like basically everybody saw everything back then because there
Yeah,
wasn't like as much volume. So if you were there, it's like anything that kind of went viral, like that shit
yeah,
was like.
right.
And then that E3 guy came and just put it in the videos and made sure everybody saw everything.
What was it? What year did YouTube actually come out? Like
I think
2004 or
it's
something?
I think it's like '05 in its preliminary phase, and then '06 to
06, Vanguard is
like the
saying.
public.
Okay. So
So
yeah,
like,
so the first Grind Time video got uploaded in February of '08. But before that, I was uploading videos from like local competitions and shit for like a year. And before that, I was just making dumb like if you go to the Grind Time YouTube channel and fucking um
Hit
uh,
oldest.
sorted by oldest, you'll see videos of me fucking like sitting out by like the pool in my apartment complex talking about Lord knows what the fuck. You know what I'm saying?
it's dope though. Those are,
That's
believe it or
super dope.
not. So like, if I'm going back now to look for it, I'm looking for those videos more than the other things. Believe it or not, I watched every video I could find of you talking about stuff. Wait, because those were the really interesting. Like, because if you're researching a person, I could watch you do like 4 battles, right? That's cool. That shows
Mhm.
me that you can do battles. I could listen to your cipher that you did from like 10 years ago or whatever. That was dope. Or you could find these little gems. But watching you talk about things for 18 minutes and break down your thoughts, man, I learned some seriously interesting shit in the interview footage that exists of you that
Oh
I could
shit.
find any little bit of it. I was like, this guy, like, if you went on Twitch and just like talked for 2 hours 3 times a
Yeah.
week, I'd be, well, as much as I could, I'd be there. I don't want to overcommit, but like
Shit.
that's
Well,
the
I've
shit
been
that I'm
thinking
fucking
about
real
really.
into.
I've been thinking about launching the Twitch channel and really doing that and just talking about a bunch of shit. So I probably should.
You
Yo,
really
Flacco,
should.
yo,
Yeah,
you know what
I'm
else? You know who was like the
what?
king of YouTube back then? Holden probably knows this dude. It's Chris Perillo.
I'm not
Do
sure
you know
that
what that
one, to
is?
be honest.
He's this
Uh,
Who's that?
fucking nerd, just really nerdy dude with glasses, and all he does is fucking talk about Star Wars and Legos and just like
yes, okay, I do know who that
yeah,
is. So I don't know
yeah,
him by name, but like there's a lot of people I know by face from back then because you didn't care who the name was. You would just be like, oh, it's that person. And then you would make up names for them. And then like that's
yeah.
because you didn't really give a shit about subscribing. I didn't even create a YouTube account for myself for like to actually let myself subscribe to people until like 2011 or some shit like that. Like that's the earliest of it. Like the first like 5 years I was on YouTube, I refused to hit an account and never liked a video. Like I just refused to do it I don't remember why, but I watched a lot of shit.
Yeah, but
So
he's definitely like anybody. Yo, Flacco, you know this dude. You've seen him before. Hold on, I'm about to pull it. He looks the same as he did 20 years ago. You seen this dude before?
Yeah.
Yo, he
Nah,
was
I recognize him.
he's the original like I'm gonna talk about software and Star Wars and then like review products dude. He's like the first dude ever.
Yeah, it's
You know what
amazing
I'm saying?
though, because that shit's like such a
Yeah,
huge thing now. Anyway, like
yeah.
no man, this is so cool. Like believe it or not, this is the show. I don't know how much of the actual show you've seen of us, but this is the show. We just talk about stuff like this, and it's like you might not think it's like super interesting, but people really like want to hear about the YouTube videos you watched 11 years ago. I I
I know
can't
I care. I
I
sit
can't
there for
explain why it's interesting, but it really is interesting. I'm
nah, it
like
is. It
Nah,
is.
fascinating.
it's cool to just talk because you learn shit about people you didn't know.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
honestly.
You learn people's journeys, and their journeys can inform your journey in ways, you know?
And it's
Yeah.
like your priorities, right? The things that are most significant to you. Like we don't really script this. These are the highlights you bring to light. So that's what you feel is the most important parts of your journey, you know? And I mean, I'm happy with sitting here talking about early YouTube, but like just but like your perspective is going to be completely different because you were uploading. And
Mm-hmm.
my perspective was just so like casual with it. So it's interesting to hear from a creator from
Yeah.
that era, you
And
know,
so
knowing
you mentioned that you were meeting people on YouTube early.
Yeah.
Who were you like? So I'm guessing because Andy Milonakis was on Grind Time, that you might have made friends with him on
Nah, I was the
YouTube.
one. I met him after he was on Grind Time. I think Lush set that
Crazy.
up. Him and Dirt Nasty. But I think like back then, like people who made videos, like we would message each other. It would be nothing to just be like, I saw your video, that shit was crazy, and then like form a relationship or get someone's number and talk to them. You know what I'm saying? But man,
mm,
it was crazy because back then, like, all right, so his was something crazy first. You remember, obviously, y'all know Ron Artest, aka Meta World Peace, aka the Panda and China's friend, and all this shit. We in the first year of Grind Time, he uploaded a video after a game in his hotel room. Like, yo, I thought this dude. They said this dude won the battle, but I thought this dude won the battle. It's like a 20-minute blog about battles. That's the first battle rap blog I ever saw. You know
Ron
what I'm saying?
Artest was the first athlete there then.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, yo, like NBA players watch this shit? What the fuck? You know what I mean? But it became it just now they come to the battles and shit like that. But like it's crazy, like just random shit. Like Vanilla Ice wanted to come to a battle in the beginning, like just fucking random shit that like blew my mind. You know what I
That
mean?
is
That's
that
when I
is
started realizing that YouTube blew up. You know what really got things popping was I'm in class at college and my boy Mike P 1080p he's a director and shit. He's really dope. I was sitting next to him in school, and he's like, "Yo, you ever heard of World Star?" And I was like, "Nah, what's that?" And he's like, "Yo," because he's from Jersey. He's like, "Yo, everybody in New York, Jersey is watching World Star." Like, what is that? He's just like, "Yo, it's just a site where they like upload videos." This is like at the beginning, like the first year of World Star. You know what I'm saying? It's probably a couple months in. And he's like, "Yo, you should have them put up some grind time videos." And I'm like, "All right." So I reached out. I sent World Star an email, and Q, the RIP to him, the founder of World Star, he hit me back with his number. And this is how early it was. You could just get somebody's number. You know what I'm saying? And we got on the phone, and I'm like, "Listen, I heard World Star is blowing up. I see the views you're getting. If you put every grind time battle on World Star, we'll put the World Star logo on all of our videos, right? So it's like as World Star blew up,
you
fucking
yeah.
grind time blew up at the same time. That helped a lot too. You know what I mean? Because then what would happen was like like these aggregators to show you like how much views you get on different sites and stuff like that. People were taking content off WorldStar and posting it to a bunch of different sites. So then our viewership was like multiplied by 10. We were already doing our thing on YouTube, but then every single hip hop site and blog was taking our battles, like battles that like people don't even remember now that have no historical relevance. Were on every fucking. I'm sure fucking Flaco
Yeah,
had a couple battles on
yeah,
World
yeah,
Star.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah. Nah,
Yeah.
definitely. The wave was definitely there, and that was definitely as someone who was like at that time, right? Like looking at everything, I felt like a little late, but
Mm-hmm.
still earlier than most of my friends, right? Because like I see my friends and how they operate with the internet, and they're still that way. Where like it's kind of like with hip hop, where it's just like, yeah, we're fans, super fans. Like we listen to Hot 97 all day. And it's just like, no, 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 no. You don't get it. That's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it like we're even more like harder, you know. And so World Star was definitely like a super plus because New York, that was how I got known in New York, like super way more than anything that I was doing in the streets and battling at Fight Club, all these things that they were accolades, it was all cool, but it didn't get me stopped in the streets of New York City cool, you know? And Grind Time, because of being on World Star at that time, was like that level of cool where it was like, yo, I'd get stopped places and people would be like, yo, Dutch Vega. And I'd be like, oh, shit, about fucking time.
Yeah.
Recognize the name.
So the
But
funny thing is that when Grind Time started, it was like, all right, when you do 5 battles, when you reach the 5th battle, you get the battle for $500. Like that was the whole thing we made up in
Hold
the
on,
beginning.
can we like
Yeah.
can we go into like the very beginning of Grind Time with more detail at this part? Because I feel
All
like
right,
we're
all right,
jumping around a bit and we kind of skipped over the real inception of Grind Time.
all
We
right,
just
all
kind
right.
of
So
dabbled on it.
I could tell you like this. So I was watching the Elements League, right? And it just stopped one day, and they took down like 90% of the battles. So I found, in Canada, like Holden knows, they weren't using AIM like us; they were using MSN. And
That is
to chat,
big facts.
yeah,
MSN Messenger was it. Yo.
yeah. So I'm like asking Pat Stay and them on the chat, like, "Yo, what's your aim?" He's like, "What the fuck is aim?" I'm like,
I know what that
I'm like,
is.
he's like, you mean MSN? I'm like, the fuck is MSN? Like MSNBC? He's like, no, man, like the chat. So I looked it up and I was like, yo, this shit is bootleg. You know what I'm saying? So
Canada always being a little bootleg with the it's all good though, like you gotta give them love because they're so like passionate about this shit.
yo,
But then
Holden,
they be
I have a
like into
question for
like
you.
MSN.
Holden, you remember the Sidekick phone?
I have to Google it. I know the name. Let me check that right quick. I think I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I need to wait. I need to wait for him because I want to know if y'all had MSN on
Yes.
it in Canada instead of AIM.
Um, so I never had that phone because back in the day I was
I
like
gotta
kind
ask
of
somebody
young,
that.
but I do know that phone. I will look into that for you one day because I know people in tech, and I might be able to get you that answer right quick. So if somebody reminds
Yeah.
me, because this was I might forget, I could probably actually find that out for you.
So yeah. Anyway, I was talking to Pat Stay and fucking this guy named Casper, this guy named Quake, who's more big for music out there because they were all in the Elements League. And I was like, man, I want to start a league, bam, bam. But they obviously they couldn't get here because back then we were all younger, we didn't have as much money, and like it was like, damn, I don't come all the way to the United States to battle in Florida for no money. You know what I'm saying? So it was like the beginning of all of us keeping in contact, then reaching back out to some of my friends and that were in the WRC. Everybody was interested, but we think the smartest thing to do because we all lived in Orlando, and the thing that people didn't understand about Orlando is that like the scene was popping. Like I know Vanguard's in the chat, man. Like I remember Vanguard and Iron Solomon came out. Matt Ills threw this battle. He used to throw this battle called Lounge Battles, and he did a 2-on-2 battle on the heels of like WRC, and it was just like mad people came out the woodwork. But Orlando was one of them places that like you didn't realize it was a melting pot till you went to an event and like saw all type of shit. But I saw like some of the greatest rappers I've ever seen in my life in Orlando. You know what I mean? And I knew that that was a place that I could start a battle league that people wouldn't expect because there was mad fucking talent. You know what I mean? And like we had Johnny Storm, you know what I'm saying? Mad Ills, Parable. Like Miami had its own scene too. You know what I mean? So I knew it would be easy to get people from all over Florida to battle. Plus there was like all these people that were interested in battling that were just a new wave of people with no real stripes under their belt. So I used to, because mind you, I didn't say this earlier, Holden, but the college I went to is called Full Sail, right? And Full Sail is a school in Florida. It's in Winter Park, Florida, basically Orlando, where basically people go for video game design,
Oh shit.
film, audio
Yeah.
recording. But this was like the one school
Engineers.
that yeah. I wanted to become an audio engineer, but this is the one school that they were pushing super hard in like every fucking rap magazine. You know what I'm saying? You see
Yeah,
like this dude with a headband
facts.
on with his hand on the fader, and it was like,
Yeah, yeah.
come here. So a lot of people knew about the school just because like a magazine or a commercial or whatever. So I ended up going there, and yeah. So while I'm there, like I actually, all right, this is crazy. So Flacco, I met Zim there.
Work.
You know what I'm saying? And he's like, yo, I battled Iron Solomon. And I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? And then I met this dude, Jay Young, there that battled Cassidy on the radio. And if y'all have fucking knowledge from way back then, like y'all remember the Cassidy and Jay Young battle, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, there's people going to the school that fucking battled or like know people in the industry, right? And then celebrities will come to our school and give conferences and shit. So I was like, yo, I'm gonna do this battle and I'm gonna put up like flyers in the school to get people to come. People that I know will talk about this shit or could give it exposure. Then I was like, yo, I need a cameraman, right? So I'm like, all right, I go to Full Sail. I need to find a cameraman. Go back to high school, right? So I'm going to high school in Carver, Massachusetts at the time. You know what I'm saying? Fucking, I'm like one of the only black kids there. Like the shit is, it's like hell for me. You know what I'm saying? So I went to school with this kid named Matt Zakruski, right? And we thought this fool was going to be a professional skateboarder. There was like a couple kids at my school that were crazy at skateboarding. So Matt, like, he was like that dude, but I think he like fucked up his leg and had a couple surgeries, right? So Matt hit me up one day while I'm trying to get all this fucking battle rap shit together. And he's like, man, my boy Corey goes to Full Sail and he's in the video program. And he's like, Corey's the one who used to film all our skate videos in high school. And I'm like, oh shit. So like I immediately get Corey's number. I hit up Corey. He lives walking distance from the school. I walked to his crib and he showed me how to use a camera and how to fucking edit the footage. And for like the first like 12 grind time battles, Corey filmed all them shit. It was either Corey or me. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
crazy. Shouts to Corey.
Yeah. So Corey, yeah, you know Corey, he's a dude. He used to go all the way to New York to film shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Corey, he taught me that shit, and then we just started filming battles. The first battle was on, like I said, was on the UCF campus. That was the one that got 10,000 views. We fucking thought YouTube was broken. We were like refreshing the screen, like, nah, that can't be 10,000. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I put that up. And another thing that made it blow up, besides the World Star thing, is there was a site called rapmusic.com, right? And rapmusic.com, it had a bunch of forums in it. And this is my first experience in a forum. So even though I was like on the internet early and like messing with computers early, I wasn't really into the whole like, let me go on this a sub forum type shit. You know what I'm saying? I forget who it was, but somebody was like, yo, on rapmusic.com, there's a sub forum called MC Battles. And like all the fucking rap battlers on there. I'm
It
like,
wasn't
what? So
called. It wasn't called Battle Video Archives yet.
damn man, I think it was Battle Video Archives. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that because if it's like because that I remember me being mind blown by like the forums
Right.
on rap music and being like, there's people all over the world that are into battle rap. Like,
Yo,
then they just talk online all day long about battle rap. This is
right.
amazing.
So
I'm gonna jump on here.
I got in there and I realized every fucking battle rapper that I ever wanted to know that had footage online was in there talking. And I was like, yo, what? This shit is crazy. So I started posting the grind time videos in the forum and they started being like, yeah, these Florida dudes are all right, but we'll whoop their ass. But it started becoming like a competition because people would see that they were getting views and they were getting posted on World Store. So it was like, nah, fuck that. Like when y'all come to my city, or like we even had offers of people that wanted to fucking come out to Florida and like do a league versus league thing when like other people had their little footage popping. But ultimately what happened was myself and Matt Hills started talking to Lush One on the West Coast, and he came out and he battled one of our guys named Unorthodox Phrases. And when he did that battle at the end, he announced like, yo, I'm officially the president of Grind Time West. and we're gonna have an event. And it's like everybody went fucking crazy because Lush, from being a battler, he knew Ilmac and Thesaurus and you know what I mean? And me and Lush got on super like detective mode and was finding like anyone that was dope with footage in the state of California, we found their ass. You know what I mean? Like I saw Disaster. Disaster was on the WRCs, but Disaster, he was actually in the LA division and he didn't make it. And I went in the forum and I was like, yo, y'all fucking bugging. Like this dude's nice. And I posted like 20 of his battles. And they made a push to get him in a different division that needed somebody. So that's how he got his name out there on this level. So like when you see like Disaster coming into Grind Time West and shit, all that shit was like me and Lush, right?
Damn.
So the way we set it up was we started Grind Time Midwest, Grind Time West Coast, and Grind Time New York all had their first battle on the same day. Right?
That's
so we had
crazy. Wait,
Jay's
what?
Juice, yeah. Yeah, so if you can see it, so I'll find the flyer and send it to you. So it was like a flyer. It was like a triple flyer. It was like 3 stacked in a row.
Oh, I think I remember that flyer.
Yeah, I remember it was Hollow and J Focus on the
Yes,
flyer.
Hollow and J Focus. Yes.
Yeah. So all 3 of these events. No, it was my bad. It was New York had an event. Midwest didn't have one then. It was New York, Florida, and West Coast all had an event on the same day, and it was kind of like a secret competition to see like who would have the like best event. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing was that back then, and this is gonna fuck y'all up, right? So back then, before we had like before people really engaged in YouTube comments the way they did, like there were still comments on YouTube and World Star, but not as many as now. It wasn't like bloop bloop every second. People weren't fucking fighting to be like first under the video.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
that wasn't a thing yet.
Exactly. We used to get all our comments from the rapbattles.com forum, or we used to post MySpace bulletins, and people would comment like on the MySpace bulletin. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of battle rap history that got erased because MySpace got fucked up. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
I had no idea. Honestly, the MySpace bulletins thing, you're the first person to bring it up in my life. And I don't even know what it is really.
I remember, but please, yes, elaborate.
Yeah, so MySpace. So when Grind Time started, the way people are like, yo, when you start a company, you need to get the Twitter, you need to get the Instagram. You know what I'm saying? You need to get a Facebook page. It was like, yo, you have to get the MySpace page. So we had like the MySpace Grind Time Now, and we would post all the battles on MySpace. And a lot of people in the very beginning were messaging us on MySpace. They would see us in the video, find our MySpace.
I believe it. It makes sense. MySpace was the most. It was the Facebook of the time. Everybody was on there. You talking about meeting people on YouTube, like I said, it reminds me of think about all the rappers that ended up popping and coming out that they all met through MySpace, like,
it was another thing too. I saw the way Soulja Boy was manipulating MySpace.
Oh, can we talk about that a little bit more? Anytime we can talk about that's a good time.
So Soulja Boy, he was so I don't know. I think Soulja Boy is from Alabama. No, is he from Mississippi or Alabama?
We can check that. I'll check that. You can keep going.
Yeah. So what he was doing is he was one of these kids that became like the most popular rapper.
The guys are saying
he became the most popular rapper at his school, and then would like put all the shit on MySpace. Then he became the most popular rapper in his district with all the schools. This is the first time I noticed that like high school kids had power to get behind somebody and push them, right? So he had all these hit songs in his state, and then it started going nationwide because he started learning how to manipulate MySpace. You know what I mean? And then he's another person that was on YouTube in the beginning that I forgot to say. You know what I'm saying? Like he was doing blogs and shit like that early, making fun of people. You know what I mean? Like some of the most popular YouTube videos back then was him making fun of people and shit. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I just saw the way he went from MySpace to YouTube, and what he was able to do with connecting with so many people with his brand. And I was like, yo, when we drop these videos on YouTube, before it was World Star, we should be like, yo, we're gonna put like myspace.com/rapgrid text over the video, over every single one, and we get people to come back to the MySpace. And like that's the first time like we really thought about developing this chain of communication where people could reach us on different platforms, right? But we weren't thinking of it like that. We were just like, yo, we need more hits on MySpace. You know what I'm saying? We didn't realize what we were actually doing and provide and using the YouTube as a vehicle to push everybody to our other sites. You know what I mean? And you know what else is big? There's this dude named Got Pang. If he ever sees this, shout out Got Pang.
Pang. Shouts to Got Pang in Toronto.
Yeah, so he just knew how to make websites back in the day, and he just hit us up, and I was like, yo, we need a website. He's became our webmaster and designed this website just because he loved grind time. You know what I mean? And we used to have a chat box at the top, and like, yo, this was before, like, you know, on Twitch now, how you can't say certain things and you can't do certain things because you can get banned. Back then, it was so hard to police a chat, and people would just be doing all type of fucking shit. So we eventually took it down because people would just put like porn in there, and like people would like spam the shit, and like they would just be like pictures of dicks, and like you couldn't click off of it and shit like that. So we had to like disable it. But that was another thing before the YouTube comments started going crazy, where we realized what like a live conversation could look like. You know what I mean? And all the battlers were in there, and it was like, man, there's so many times during grind time where we were like discovering new technology that was coming out. Like, what was that first site? It was like the first site that you could live stream on from your phone. What was the name of that shit?
Shit, I don't remember it.
I forget, but I know I can
Periscope?
testify to the fact that you're right 100%. Like everything, I mean, think about it. It might have been Tiny Chat, Patterson, Vanguard, the same thing.
I think it came out before Tiny Chat. It's like an actual site like Twitch where people could. It was like the first site where people who did like professional streaming.
Justin.tv?
Hold on. Now you guys got me wanting to look this up. But anyway, they came out with an app that lets you stream from your phone, and we used to stream like half of the grind time events from this shit, and there would be tens of thousands of people in there. You know what I mean? So I was doing all these little experiments at the time, or we were doing all these little experiments, like kind of gauging the interest. And we saw that there were so many fans. So it's like funny to see the way technology is now, to kind of see all that stuff realized. But like we knew it back then. You know what I mean? It was just a matter of getting access to all these platforms and apps. You know what I mean? Like if it didn't have a mobile version, we couldn't fuck with it. You know what I mean? Because that's the way the world was going, towards apps. You know what I mean? And it's just crazy. Like even when you say this, I think about like I had like an iPhone 3G that I was streaming this shit off of. You know what I'm saying? This shit was crazy.
The camera was wild trinage, but we didn't know. Back then it was like, yo, this is amazing. This is incredible technology. This is all. I mean, I definitely, when it comes to battle rap, I always constantly like mention the fact that like with me and Penn, we threw the first pay-per-view in battle rap. You know what I mean? Through you guys, you know, like there's always all this, and we weren't the only ones, you know, like Lush broke ground with a bunch of things. You did, Sunny Bamboo in the Midwest, like each division was doing their own groundbreaking stuff that ended up being exactly like part of the format that is to this day in battle rap.
Now, I will say this too, like through this journey, it's crazy because I do a bunch of stuff now. Like I have another business, I have an agency, and like I've gotten jobs working with different companies doing all type of stuff. And it all started from battle rap and how the marketing and the advertising and manipulating and using the fucking technology. It's like, it's crazy that we were developing these real world skills.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that we didn't realize because it was fun at the time, right? But like, we're figuring out how to do live streams with what seems like archaic technology now. You know what I'm saying? I think you were the one that brought the camera for the first live stream.
Yeah.
right, Flacco?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like I think we could do it on my camera. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And now it's just like people know the shit like the back of their hands, but like we were ground level, years of experience with a lot of this shit.
I don't know if
Yeah.
people know
Event
it like the back of
management,
their hand quite
planning,
yet.
everything. Yeah. What'd you say?
It's definitely not back of your hand technology yet. We're still in the more like we're moving into the mainstream phases, I'd say. But to me, it's like really true what you're saying. Part of like how I got my job was because I could do webinars, and they like trusted me to figure out how to do webinars and find
This
the
is what I'm
tools and
saying.
whatnot.
Yeah.
So like part of that came from doing live shows, just performing at bars and shit. Got me to webinars. So it's like hearing you say that, I'm like, yo, that's like big facts. Like it literally
Yeah.
translates into my professional career that even this, right? Because I'm doing this, there's more trust that I'm capable of doing internet things for my day job company because that knowledge isn't necessarily quite as widespread as you'd believe at this time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No.
it's crazy. You know, I have one more story, right, that ties into this, right? So I'm going to Full Sail, and like in the beginning, they test you with a bunch of like general education classes, right? There's a class where you have to like build a computer from scratch, and like before you even learn to all the shit like how to fucking use the patch bay and fucking use the echo and the delay and shit. Like they put you through all this general education shit to kind of weed people out, right? So and also they
Yo,
called it
is
like a
that why they do
24/7
general
school.
education shit in general to weed people out? They teach you boring shit to that's an
Yeah,
interesting point. I
see,
love
I
that
mean
you said
that's
that.
how I felt. That's how I felt. But like because of that, we had a lot of people failing out in the beginning. You know what I mean? And then teachers would be like, "Yo, they didn't want to be here anyway." But the thing that fucked me up was is we called it. I don't know if this is a technical name for it, but we called it a 24-hour school because basically to prepare you for the industry, the school was open 24/7, and you were liable to have a class or a lab at any time. So I remember I had a lab from like 3 to 5 in the morning. Uh, for like a month period, I had a lab from 3 to 5 in the morning. Then I had class from 5 to 9. Then I had a lab from 9 to 11. So I had to sleep between 11 and 3 a.m., learn how to wake myself up. And even because of that, right now, like I be up all night. You know what I'm saying? But I would fucking in the beginning, I would miss so much fucking class because I just would oversleep and shit that they made me leave. They were like, yo, you have to take a 9 month break from Full Sail. Like, you have to like go out and do something and show us that you want to come back, right? And I'm like, fuck. So what a lot of people don't know is in that 9 months is when grind time was created.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is what I did. So when I first left, I was like, yo, fuck, what am I gonna do? Right. And so I went on Craigslist. And remember, Craigslist was like, I guess it was out a long time, but like people in our age group like were just discovering Craigslist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I went on Craigslist and I found this dude named Captain Chris, like Captain Crunch. His name was
Hmm.
Captain Chris Hill, right? And he's such like an important person like in my life that ties into my story. So he's like, yo, he's like, I have a internet radio station called Rhythm 96. And he was like, yo, fucking, I'm looking for interns, right? So me and my boy Prophecy, he was like a producer at the time. And me and him go to we go to Rhythm 96. We get there. Dude Captain Chris is like 48-year-old dude. He lives in the back of his mom's crib, and he set up like a fucking radio station on like the back patio, right? And like we're like, yo, this is bullshit. You know what I'm saying? He's like, no, no, you guys are at the right place. We come in, we get there. He has mad equipment in the back, right? And he's like, listen, he's breaking down his business, and he's like, yo, we start noticing if you look at his walls that he has like event passes to every fucking event, like NBA games, hip hop events. And we're like, yo, how did you get these in the back of your mom's house? And he's like, I just say I'm media. And he's like, yo, he's like, my homeboy is this Jewish dude. I send his wife into meetings and we always come out with like passes to shit. And I was like, what? Yeah. He was like, yo, I just got a Jewish lady to
Lit.
fucking
What that
he's like
means?
he's like I basically write her a script and tell her what to say. She studies it for like a night, goes into the meeting, and they give her shit. So this motherfucker had like sponsorships from Sprint and all types of shit. So at an early stage, I'm looking at it like, yo, this dude has like 5 viewers a month, and he conned fucking Sprint and Verizon and NBA teams to give him passes and sponsorship money. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. So what he did was he gave us a radio show in like the back of his mom's porch, and we used to come there like once a week. And like at the time, like I told you, I was in the battle rap. This is actually how Grind Time started. We called it Grind Time Radio, and we used to just
That's
have like
right.
interviews, interviews and shit, and then we'd have like try to do like a little battle at the end, like an audio battle. People were calling over the phone, right? So we did that for a little while, and like we just had enough of Captain Chris after a while. You know what I'm saying? He was crazy. But like in a couple months where we went to his mom's house, we learned something. We learned that like you don't really have to have it all together to be able to talk a company into giving you a sponsorship,
No
right?
shit.
And we also learned that like even if your platform sucks, the fact that you have a platform opens you up to gaining some type of traction on the business end, right? And I was like, yo, ain't this shit crazy? So then after we left, and then I got with Corey and we made Grind Time. Like I was taking a lot of these tools into my career as like an event planner or whatever, right? Because I knew that like, because people even to this day, people are like, yo, I need a sponsorship. Can you help me get a sponsorship? That all comes from fucking seeing Captain Chris struggle as a 48-year-old man and having fucking sprints.
Shouts out to Captain Chris.
You know what I'm saying?
This is a
Captain
cool
Chris is
story.
crazy. His name's Captain Chris Hill. Let me know if y'all find him on Google. I wonder what he's doing now, but his station was called rhythm96.com. He was the first person that told me, like, yo, you want a .com. If you have a .net or dot whatever is cheaper, but .com makes it look more official. It's worth paying the extra $15 to GoDaddy to get .com. You know what I'm saying?
Sound
So,
advice, yo. Sound advice.
you know what I mean? So
Respect it.
like, yeah. So when I went back, and they were like, all right, like when 9 months was up, and the school was like, all right, man, like, what did you do? Me and Corey made a Grind Time DVD, and I showed like footage of us in like Captain Chris's studio and shit. And they were like, yo, this shit is fucking crazy. And so like after I graduated, they would use Grind Time. They'd be like, yo, the founder of Grind Time went here, like come to the school. I was saying I was
Yes.
That's
supposed to,
fucking cool. Oh my
yeah,
Yeah.
gosh, that's like goals.
I
yeah, I
remember
was,
seeing that. And that is a wild like notch to feel great about. Like, yo, your school prides itself on saying you were an alumni. Like that's
Wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah. So
fucking cool.
they were just like, yo, there's nothing we can even say. Like, come on back. And I had to start with like a new group of people and shit, and I graduated later because of that. But like, obviously, it was worth it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people hit me up now, like, yo, you used to hang up battle rap flyers in fucking the Full Sail hallways. Like, I still have one. You know what I mean? So
that's
like, yeah,
dope.
that's how everything really got started, and then we just
The power
expanded.
in your story, man. You're
Yeah,
full of knowledge nuggets for real. Like anybody watching this should be taking notes on, because like a lot of what you're saying translates to like anybody on the grind today. It's not even like that different. It's go be where people are, get your knowledge on, and take advantage of opportunities that are available with the tools that are available. And you're just describing how you did it with like Craigslist and shit instead of Facebook.
yeah.
It's
I think
actually
that the
fucking
biggest
cool.
thing to me is that like people who succeed and people who actually accomplish what they think of and what they dream of. The first part is taking action. Like I feel like 90% of people don't even take action. They just come up with the idea and chill. I mean,
Mm.
the other thing is like I would spend hours listening to other people talk. Like thank God we have podcasts now because it's easier. But and like TED Talks, but even before that, I would just like find whatever interviews I could of successful people and listen to everything they said and see like how I can like incorporate this or apply this to what I'm doing. You know
I
what I
love
mean?
it.
Like I knew like yo, like just like I will tell you when we did that first pay-per-view event, like I knew we had to do something. Even if it failed, I was like, we have to have the first pay-per-view event just to say we had it. You know what I
Nope.
mean? It was a
Mm.
huge fucking struggle because cats didn't know what the hell they were doing. But ultimately, it gave us like a little notch on our belts because I knew the industry was going that way. I just didn't know how the hell it was going to happen.
Yeah,
You know
no,
what I
it
mean?
wasn't like it was a mainstream thing like that. You know, that
Right.
site itself had problems with the traffic we gave them with that event. Like it was
Yeah.
just not built for that much, you know, at the time. It
Yeah.
just wasn't.
So
Yeah,
like,
but
yeah,
that's
it's
a big
crazy.
facts, and people don't necessarily. I think it's called the Toolbox Paradox, where people believe that they need this ideal state of equipment slash perfection in order to start pursuing some degree of plan or action and pursue it. And usually
Mm.
they'll find an excuse or a limitation of why they can't pursue it. Whereas your version of it is we just did it and it was not maybe the best, but we were the first and that was powerful. And I'm like, no, that's how life works. Actually, it's pretty interesting because my whole endeavor has been this clunky mess of not making great decisions. But as you said, having a platform allows me to talk to you today and now and be able to like literally learn from you directly. So like
Yeah.
everything you're saying to me is like, yo, that's my life. That's so
Like
fucking
you
cool to
know,
talk to.
the thing is like you can share information at the speed of light now, right? Like I literally remember like when people had pen pals and shit, and like motherfuckers, you would get a letter from them 2 weeks later. You know what I'm saying? and it's
Yeah, I
like,
do.
and it's like as soon as AOL Instant Messenger came out or MSN, like I was like, oh, it's lit. Like I could talk to somebody in England, like right now. Oh, it's over. You know what I mean? And I always felt like that. Like I always was like eager to take advantage of technology and just push the limits of what like the user could actually do. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And now it's crazy. Like everybody knows now, FaceTime and all this other shit. But like I think I heard an entrepreneur say this a long time ago. It's like if you're like in the mix, like everybody has Facebook, everybody has Instagram, everybody has TikTok or whatever. Whenever a new technology comes out, you can be one of the first people on that to really take advantage of that and to like gain a strong foothold in that. You can give yourself a lot of advantages business wise. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And like if you notice, like somebody might not be popular on Instagram, but they got on TikTok super fast, and like that's how they got their bag. That's how they got their money. That's how they got an even bigger following. So I used to always think of that. Like, let me like this is why I love Clubhouse House right now. It's not monetized yet, but like I think one day it's gonna be like monetized rooms where people pay to like get into
Mm.
certain rooms and stuff like that on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be there's going to be a lot of things rolling out that if you gain like strong foothold in Clubhouse right now, and then whatever is even coming out after that, like you'll be golden. So
I wish I could be on Clubhouse right now. It's a big wish, but unfortunately, I have the Galaxy World, and Clubhouse is not rolled out to the Apple, to the post Apple universe yet. It's just iOS.
oh really? So Instagram was
So,
like that too in the beginning. You had to have
Yeah.
an iPhone.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it made me actually realize a huge thing. I never, it's something I'm calling, I don't know how what the right word is, but it made me realize that the average, I mean, if you look at it a metric perception, the average revenue per user of an Apple product is significantly higher than an Android product. Plus, the way Apple specs everything puts a lot of limitations on app develop. Sorry, a lot of like well confines on app development, but that makes it easier to support. There's only the pre-approved 8 Apple displays you have to work with, rather than every fucking display combination under the sun as the Android world competes with each other. So it's
Mm-hmm.
significantly cheaper to pay the Apple premium and just be Apple exclusive, but also know that when you do monetize, your user base has a higher threshold for money. So you're probably going on a SaaS model, and now you're going to have a guaranteed not broke situation for that SaaS model, but you're going to roll it out to Android when you're ready to drop it, because you know Android's going to be a low conversion with a bunch of free ad shit. That would be my prediction of what they're doing right now, is figuring out how to SaaS up the Clubhouse universe.
You learn something new every day. I'm glad. I'm glad you said that. I have a question, and I want to tell y'all something else. What did you say the term was for people who sit around and make up excuses for not to do stuff?
Uh, I don't know
Uh,
what
You said
term
it's
I
called a
used.
ox something.
Oh, I used the toolbox paradox to describe the
Oh,
excuses
toolbox
of
paradox.
perfection. Yeah,
Okay. All
because
right.
that's like when you use because usually if you talk to people about why they have inaction in those moments, they're waiting on a perfection moment. They're waiting on either the right equipment or the right circumstances. And so it all boils under what that toolbox paradox describes. Like, and it's this fallacy that you need things to go. Like, I actually spent a lot of money on things I end up not using. So basically it was like a $600 lesson here or there, but I really didn't need that gear.
Mm,
So, and then you learn, oh shit, I probably could have started my podcast with $30 lapel bikes and not, like you learn
yeah.
a lot of stuff, but only after you go through it. So it's just that if you accept an imperfection and a growth forward path, like you just got to get better over time. Like that's the only math equation in my pattern is to get better over time. And
Yeah,
It
that's
and
seems
your
to me the
mistakes help you
people,
do that.
the people that really monetize their brands and the people that really like, even if you look at like rappers and shit, like the people who really don't give a fuck about what no one else says seem to go further than the more talented people who read every fucking comment and let it like stop them from doing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um,
mm,
Yo, Holden, have you seen the movie Silicon Valley with Steve Jobs and Bill Gates? They kind of, it was like the first movie that really told their story before all these new movies came out.
I don't know if I saw the movie, but I'm familiar with both their stories.
So, um, and when I went to Full Sail, they made us watch Silicon Valley, and because I had fucked up in the beginning, I had to watch it like 6 times, right? And I just ended up like adding it to my collection. But I was watching Bill Gates, and there's a scene where he has like
Oh,
Microsoft has
Pirates of Silicon Valley.
yeah, Pirates of Silicon Valley,
Okay,
and,
yeah.
yeah, there's a scene where like he's like, all right, we have the computer, and but it's just this black screen, like talking about Microsoft DOS. It's just a black screen with like ones and zeros. We need like a graphical interface. So he goes and he has a meeting with Xerox, and they're like, we have one, and it's like the same shit with like the start button, and then you can open up the apps. And Bill Gates is like, he talks them into giving them their GUI, a GUI, which is basically what you see when you log onto a computer. He talks them into giving it to him. It's unfinished, so he applies it to Microsoft. Then he goes to IBM and tells them you need computers, and I'm actually in a bidding war with all these other computer companies, and they're gonna give me all this money, and scares them into giving him his startup money, right? And I'm like, yo, like
Yeah, that's
motherfuckers can do all this shit, and I can't get it
Bullshitting.
sponsored. You know what I'm saying? Like I used
Being
to use,
able to bullshit is really like
yeah,
but also being able to bullshit and back up your shit,
yeah.
right? Because
right, right.
if they would have been real con artists, they would have just took the money and ran, right? And
Mm-hmm.
not produced anything.
Yeah,
They
like
produced and came up with their shit,
Yeah,
it's like
but
these are
that's what I
also
think.
like top
Go
tier.
ahead.
Like both these guys, just to like give them credit. Like by the time they're 18, have already put in so much time, effort, and grind into becoming experts within their crafts that when these opportunities arose, they were able to see them and recognize the opportunities. And that's something you just have to give them credit for. It's not just that they pulled off the great thing and said you had to know, like people don't necessarily know that at this time, like there was no interface. Nobody could picture it. It didn't exist outside of a few select university research firms where
Mm-hmm.
only like the most exclusive like PhD research types ever saw this shit. The internet was super limited and whatnot. So to have a guy like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs both, because I believe like both of them tried to steal it at the same time, and Steve failed and then got mad at Apple or Bill after, and it's like one of my favorite stories
Mm-hmm.
because it's hilarious. It's just hilarious when you think about how like petty this software world can be. But yeah, so like you look at
similar
that,
to
and
every world.
these are two like geniuses who are competing for the same amazing idea because of how limited the opportunities to pull this off were. Like this is not just some random shit. It is brilliance in action to me. Like it's such a cool story to study.
Yeah, nah, and there's like crazy stories. Like I saw an interview with Mark Cuban the other day where he was talking about how like all he does is download ebooks and read all day and like learn about all the new technology because he doesn't want to get left behind. Like I have this phrase that I tell like my friends and family where I'm like, yo, don't be Blockbuster. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
Blockbuster could have bought Netflix. Like we all know that
Yep.
story. Like, yo, son, like you have to learn the new shit and get on top of it, like, because it's gonna
Facts.
you're gonna be able to take advantage of it business wise or whatever. But like, yo, don't be Blockbuster, and like Mark Cuban is
Don't
like the
be
best shit there.
Blockbuster.
No, it's
But like,
big because
yeah,
I worked at a competitor to Blockbuster that let us delete late fees.
I don't even remember the Blockbuster competitors. Was it like just the local video rental store?
Well, it was a Quebec only one, so it was owned by one of the
Oh,
biggest media conglomerates in Quebec. But they outlasted Blockbuster. I think there are still stores to this. There might be like a one or two still to this day that just happen to exist, but it was because we were allowed to delete late fees. So I was working at the video store as we were stealing Blockbuster clients on this I could delete your late fee shit. And it was the most ridiculous thing ever as people would tell us stories about how Blockbuster had creditors calling, like they would send $5 late fees to collections, and then they would come to us and tell us their fuck Blockbuster story. So I got a good year of fuck Blockbuster stories before they died as people came over here and raged at their terrible business practices. So
you know
yo,
what's what's
don't
crazy?
be Blockbuster.
Blockbuster made the two worst. I don't know who the CEO of Blockbuster was. I'd love to know, but like they made the two worst decisions and missed out on two big forward moving opportunities. They got fucked up by Redbox. And
Mm,
Redbox, and there was like a couple year period where like people weren't fully onto the streaming services, but they like
Yeah,
to
they were still
like
doing Redbox.
they
Facts.
were doing
I know
Redbox.
in the Bronx, there's a lot of people that in New York City, period, you get a good gauge because there's so many millions of
Right.
people. You get to get a greater gauge of like essentially what the world outside of New York City and the rest of the country, not in the world, but in the rest of the country
Yeah.
probably is like, because you see how many people really don't care necessarily about keeping up with any of the tech like that, like it's not the majority. It's usually people that are like, they're just like, whatever, I only do, like Holden's attitude towards YouTube early on in life. That's I know people like that still to this day, that they're just like, what,
Yeah.
make a profile, like and comment, like what, bro, subscribe, like nah, just send me a link. Like, they're
But
very
you know
send
what's
me the
funny?
link
In New York is like the easiest place to go outside, even for new
yeah.
kids. You know what I'm saying? So like it's crazy because New York is always the first on everything, but there's so much other shit to do in New York to where you don't have to get on your phone as much as everybody else.
mm.
Facts.
That's mad nifty. I like that you said
Yeah.
that too. Those kinds of perspectives are things people I think should think about. Because you know what? All of my like super fans, you could say, are mostly from places that are not big city areas. They're often in smaller areas with less to do on a Tuesday night or whatever. So they like really are just chilling. And it's like it's a weird thing, but when you're on the internet, you're really not trying to compete with your local city's tourism. Like there's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
things happening in big cities. You're trying to go for like Iowa. And
Well, you know,
that's
you
where
know
like
what though? I feel like when Instagram came out with live, it kind of was like, now I'm gonna go outside and show you everything I do. So now I can do both at the same time.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
big,
Big
man.
time.
Honestly, like when real life comes back, my phone and my data, I'm good. I'm just gonna Twitch a lot more. People are gonna see Montreal. Like, why not?
Yeah.
It's crazy because this time I think has made us realize how how valuable like accomplishing your goals are, right?
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people passed away earlier than their time. A lot of people got sick multiple times. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we lost a lot of great celebrities that we look up to that were masters of their crafts. That thank God they were able to put out the work they did before they passed. The
Yep.
Chadwick,
Rest in peace.
Kobe Bryant. You know what I mean? So I think that
Kobe
made a lot.
Bryant's, Chadwick Boseman's.
That made a
yo,
lot
it's
of people just be like, man, I got to get on my shit.
I think it's true. Well, I mean, for me at least, I feel like the last year was fascinating because I wasn't around people. I don't know about where you're at, but I'm currently lockdown's about to kick in 3 minutes, and we can't go outside till 5 in the morning. So it's been a lot of time to be like reflective, and I think a lot of people I watched get more reflective in the last year and more
Right.
like more willing to like acknowledge who we all are rather
Right.
than having to play like for me like I haven't had to go be in the office place and play that role, which is a little faker than my normal self would be on some like it's work times. So I've been me all day. all day, me myself, for like the last year, which is possibly the first time in my life that's like ever actually happened.
Yeah, I mean that's shit. A lot of people. I mean, the United States of America is a little more irresponsible with their COVID pandemic rules, but
Yeah.
especially certain states, like the same three states we all
Other,
know.
I mean, it's always like that, right? You know, like
Oh,
the South, the Midwest. I think I don't know which one of those like really right leaning conservative pundits like coined the term, but like they call it the flyover states, the states that you fly over on your way between New York to California. You know,
mhm.
and it's just like yeah, like like it that's exactly what it is. You know, we
Yeah,
in New York City, like you said, we really do have real. It's just like you go outside more. You as soon as I go downstairs, I'm walking by like at least 5 to 10 people, and I'm not saying hi to them. And like and it's just like that I live on a dead end block. It's kind of like a little bit of a quiet neighborhood. You've been in my area, direct,
mhm.
So like,
You
but
see,
like,
you stay in the same spot.
yeah, I'm still at the same
Yo, you
spot.
gotta relink me with that barber you took me to, man. That was the greatest haircut I ever had in my life. I've been meaning to tell you that for years.
Yo, it's funny that you say that because every time that I walk by there, I already know that. Like I know that. Like you told me that day, like your feelings that day were very clear. Like you were like, yo, this haircut and this food is amazing. And you were apprehensive about both,
Right,
because you were
right.
like, I just need to get a cut. And then the food, I think you were a little bit more apprehensive about. You were like, bro, I don't know
Bro,
what,
it's
what this
called
is.
Coochie Fritos.
The Coochie Fritos, baby. I took you to Coochie Fritos.
Yeah, when I think about coochie and
He's like,
Fritos, I do not
direct
think
is
about
like, well,
eating them.
I don't know. I don't know what none of this is. And I'm like, yo, just trust me. Like, do you like chicken? Like generally,
I like
like,
chicken.
do you like chicken? Do you like beef? Do you like, what do you prefer? Like, it's kind of simple, rice and beans. Do you like yellow or do you like white? And from there, like, you'll see once you eat it, how good it is and like all the love that's put in it. But I knew you ain't got to tell me.
Respect. Yeah, honestly, I think it's so cool that we're like pretty much 2 hours deep and we barely started to talk about Grand Time. That's how interesting you are. I just want you to
Yo,
know that, right?
super interesting, yo. Really
No,
interesting life, yo. And by the way, like I didn't even say it because I was just like, yo, you know what? But like I'm gonna say it right now, real quick. Like we didn't even touch on your upbringing, like your household, and
mhm.
like your family
I
necessarily.
didn't even know that
Like
that was
it's
something to touch
just
on.
we're just going on the strength of you, and
Mm.
that's interesting in itself. We didn't. I want to know now. I'm curious about like who is this computer uncle? Like what? Like
Was it
he
your
was
dad, you said?
programming. Like clearly
Oh
this
my
man
pop,
Yeah,
was
it was
my
your
like
dad,
pop.
right?
Yeah,
it was your
yeah,
pops. Look,
yeah,
your
yeah.
pops. Your
Yeah.
pops is probably like super monumental person that we probably should be talking about. But like
But
you
like,
also are really interesting. And this has been he's
but
holding
it's
us right.
more than
Like
that. It's like, yo, you gotta understand. I'm a kind of guy right now trying to explain some tech stuff to a lot of peoples that might happen to do the MC thing in my city. And I think you can appreciate what it is to try to explain new tech stuff. Like, yo, I have ideas here and I'm trying to, anyway, I don't
Yeah.
want to go too much in that direction, but I'm saying it from a point where hearing you describe the way your mind works, I'm like, nah, you're like, you're one of the smartest people I've talked to. I might say that a few times, but I'm blessed to talk to some of the smartest people that I can collect in life, which is fucking crazy cool for me. This is like mini TED Talks to me. But you're like that quality level. Like you've dropped a lot of free game in here that if people are paying attention to and are actually taking notes, they can apply to their brand growings and actually leverage technology smarter. You support so many things I believe in terms of how to leverage what's around you. Yo, like you invent you're like kind of like probably what the people who ended up making Twitch were studying when you were creating these buzzes and amalgamations. Like people were watching that data that you were creating and making decisions that led to the world that we're in today. That's like that's big for me to talk to you like in ways that maybe I don't
Yeah.
know how to express fully, but that's so cool.
Yeah, I get it too because the crazy thing to me is that I started thinking it's like, yo, I know so many broke people who kind of did things similar to me or just are artists and creatives and whatever, because they don't know like the power of their mind or their talent or their
Yep.
ability to just get things done. And I tell like a lot of my peers all the time, like, bro, like they pay six figures and up for our same skill sets in corporate America. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh my
and
gosh.
and they don't and like like man, I'm big on that. I'm really big on that. And it's like you got to learn. It got to a point where it was like I got to dress in a suit and I got to change the way I talk in order to get in those offices and talk to those people. But now with the internet, it's like, yo, all you got to do is have that battery in your back to get your shit together and don't the fucking the toolbox shit. You know what I'm saying? Like don't sit around because now you can make a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
money or connect with a bunch of people just by talking if you're not being super lazy.
Yeah. Big
You know what I
Yo, the
mean?
facts.
talk,
Listen,
the talking
listen.
thing is so huge because it's another part of what you said that we need to highlight because it's really big. I was afraid of messaging people my whole fucking life, so I probably would be a lot more successful now in my whole like review interview life if I had more of a willingness to have learned how to DM people. I mean, like to do it right, to not be annoying. I'm more of like the self conscious. Why would this person want to talk to me, motherfucker? And I overthink that shit, and I end up never really doing it. Even to this day, I'm forcing myself to reach out to people more. It's like a habit and a skill
Yeah.
I'm learning how to develop. But
Okay,
you
I got something for you,
contacted
right?
World Star, and it basically helped Grind Time pop off on some.
All right,
Eh,
yeah.
I'm gonna do it. But you also watched Next Man's get free passes on some contacting the whole world shit. And I'm like, yo, I want media passes. Like, let's be real. That's
Yeah.
bliss. I'm like, how do you do that?
Yo, I realize at a certain point is that you can really talk your way into anything. You know what I'm saying? And like, all right, so we talked about my pops, right? So my mom, for like majority of her life, she's been a human resources consultant, right? So her whole
Oh
thing is
shit,
that
that's
yeah,
big.
she would negotiate a lot of people's contracts in like all different fields, and she have to learn about these fields, and or she'd be hired as a temp to fucking basically be the boss and the manager at a company for a certain amount of time, right? So a lot of things, you know, my mom is one of my best friends in the world, and we talk a lot about communications and how to like. I didn't realize, you know, the skills she was giving me at the time, but we would talk a lot about like how is if you change the way that you say something to someone, it can be perceived completely different, right? And so that really gave me the confidence to be able to talk to anybody and and connect with them. You know what I'm saying? And I even think my upbringing, like going to school in the suburbs and stuff like that, and then going in the city in the summer times or going to visit, I feel like that all plays into learning how to talk to different people and stuff like that, right? So the funny thing for me is when you're talking about being like a little apprehensive about sending messages and stuff like that, right? My whole thing was, boom, this is my trial period here. Like I might not want to call this person on the phone, but like I can try. I'll send 10 people messages. I'll send different type of messages and then see who responds. And then what you start realizing is that like, okay, before you send a message, you look at a way to connect with somebody that will make them want to respond. Like I even do that now. Like if I message somebody that I'm trying to connect with on a business level and I don't think they're gonna respond, like we had a sponsorship a couple of years ago and I noticed that the dude grew up in Central Florida. So I hit him
Mhm.
instead of sending him an email just about business. I was like, hey, I went to school in Central Florida, this and that, and I was on this road and I lived here. And he responded like immediately. And it's from a big clothing brand. You know what I mean? And then like me and him just established a whole connection based off living in the same area. So that's the thing too. I think
Oh,
a lot of people
that's
send
super
messages like,
nifty.
yeah. So you just gotta. I think you do research on who you're talking to first, and then send a message with whatever you learned about them in mind. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that's big, man. Honestly, I really like that you said that. I also like that you A/B tested your messaging strategy as well, which is kind of cool. Like that's
Yeah.
basically when you send it out and you compare which ones have the better results, and you continue to optimize the approach until etc. That's also, it's cool that you just think like that. Like, people really do pay people a lot of money to do what you're doing. I'm not even flying. Like that is like, you can go
Yeah.
look. I don't know about where in the States, but in Canada, there's this site called Glassdoor, and they put the salaries of like the
Yeah, we
average
have
shits.
Glassdoor here too. Yeah,
Oh, that's blessed. So yeah,
yeah,
like you just go on Glassdoor and go look at what people get paid to do things that you might actually do. It's just a matter of now making your CV look fire, which is now probably a good
right.
internet presence. That
But
doesn't mean
you know that
followers. It means actually longevity. It means if you do something for 3 to 5 years, companies are interested because you
right,
stayed in the game for 5 years is what
Yeah.
companies are looking for. The
right,
companies are also having shitty subscriber counts, so trust me, they're not judging you for that shit because they
right,
put money in and you pulled off what companies did without money. So they're actually really interested in your mind. I just
right,
want to throw that out there because I didn't put any money into AdSense or anything like that for anything I've accomplished. It's all been this organic growth. That's what companies are looking for because they are not good at things that don't have numbers.
right. Nah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. Just for anyone listening, I'm into sharing knowledge nuggets too if we can. But that's so cool. But so I don't
So
know.
let's pick up with grind
Yeah,
time.
that's what I was gonna say too.
Q.
Amazing.
You got the you got the platform on all these places. How is it like being the creator of it as it's going? Like looking back now.
It was super fun because I think at a certain point in time when we start realizing celebrities are watching and all this other stuff is going on, you start realizing that like, yo, we're sculpting a piece of history. You know what I mean? And then I started becoming hyper aware of that, like, if we give this dude an opportunity, he blows up, or just whatever happens, like we're changing history. Like every decision that we make is changing someone's life and changing a timeline in hip hop history. And I think that was like coming to that realization was crazy for me. You know what I
I
Yeah.
mean?
love that
Like,
you said that.
you know,
Man, everybody says the first step is visualization, and that's visualization in action, is the awareness of what's going on and a focus. Because, people plan for like a year and they should be thinking 10. That's
right?
Mhm.
some like thinking 100 shit. That's, yeah.
It's funny that you say that because I was just talking when we were talking with Cortez last week. uh Holden, when he like, this is what makes it, this is what I've been enjoying about this journey with Holden, right? Where it's just like, yo, I could do a show with like another fellow, like, super underground from, from the soil that like knows this, but it's just like, where's the fun in that? Like, it's just two people that know, like, this is better because like Holden gets to learn about all this shit that has existed already, and
Mm-hmm.
he gets to go through this journey, and I get to be there and watch him go through the journey. And I think that as like a real, true like love of this like culture of ours, like I think that's probably one of the funnest things is like watching somebody else get up on some shit that you've been up on. And then being
Right.
like, yo, this shit is fucking cool. And you being like,
Yeah, it's
right?
crazy. So
Right?
I think sometimes we like live in our own bubbles and we forget that like there's a person out there that's not privy to all the information that we are
Mm-hmm.
too, and then we speak to everybody like they understand what we're talking about and they understand our culture. Like I used to always
Yeah.
say like growing up, like I don't want to do the same 10 things that all people in my neighborhood do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's people different from us that do 10 things. And then there's another group of people that do 10 things. Like, I want to experience all of it. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes it keeps you grounded when, like, okay, like I never got caught up in, like, oh, everybody knows me in battle rap. Because I know I can step into a room and nobody knows me. Then they could be on some completely different shit. And I have to basically start from the beginning with that
Mm-hmm.
group of people. You know what I'm saying? And like I think that's another part of it too. Like just knowing there's so much to learn, so much to experience, and that you never know everything, and you're never just on top of life. You know,
Mm-hmm. Big facts.
I
look at
love it.
Holden,
This
man.
is it's just the dreams, man, for me. This knowledge nugget shit. Literally, my like emote is a gold nugget with a scholar hat
Mhm.
and it says knowledge on it. It's knowledge
That's
nuggets.
what's up.
Cause
Right.
that's what we about here. Honestly, listen, there's a lot of people who who don't know a lot about internet marketing. And I figure if I can talk to a lot of successful people in the game who have a lot of knowledge and experience, and we can
Mhm.
talk about this stuff kind of more candidly, like how can anybody? I'm gonna be saying shit like, yo, what was DRECT doing 10 years ago, and look what happened today. Why are y'all ignoring this now? Like this just gives me the ammunition to help me make better arguments and stuff, and then people can
Yeah,
come watch
facts.
this and be like, yo, learning real game. Like we could talk about your favorite influences in hip hop and shit, and sure we could do that, but like hearing how you built grind time and how you leveraged all this available information is just so much more practical and helpful to the rest of the world is my thoughts on the situation, and genuinely more entertaining for me.
Right, nah, that's dope. Yeah, I want to let you guys know I got about like 20 minutes left, and I don't want to miss out on any of the major points. I got lost in telling a
Man,
bunch of
so
stories. You know
Now
what
we
I'm saying?
definitely gonna do a part two. We
that's
definitely gonna
Yeah.
do a
facts.
part two.
Hey, I'm
And
ready for it.
it's perfect, man. Like here's the thing. You've expressed why you're a legend without having to even talk about your accomplishments. And I
Facts.
think you should take some
What's up?
serious pride in the fact that this is like we're this deep and we didn't have to talk about all of those other things that normally come up. Cause yo, you're a drawing, fucking piano playing, singing, battle rap legend by the time you're like 16. You know, all the other stuff is like whatever. You were 16 and you had already done way more things than other people's. You were recording songs, you off the radio, you were just doing all this crazy shit, like and then all of a sudden it's like you're correlating that already into these hidden business successes and different things you've done that to me are like real accomplishments. So I
Yeah,
feel like, man, we have covered highlights the whole thing. It's just been a highlight
Yeah.
reel of phase
that's
one,
dope.
the first big chapter of Direct.
So I got another question. On the heels of that. So what do you feel was like the biggest moment that
Yeah.
happened each year as it was progressing, if you can? Like it doesn't have to be each year, but like at least
Yeah.
each like couple years, because I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
every few years there was an accomplishment that like I remember looking at uh when when like certain rappers were paying attention to us, looking like when Jay tweeted about Lux. That was like a
Oh,
moment
yeah,
in the
that's huge.
culture,
Yeah,
in battle rap, I feel like back then
Yeah.
grind time had that a lot of times.
right. I think that hold on one second, guys. Hold on one second, guys. All right.
Yeah,
That's all right. There's food that came, which is important. All
yeah, yeah, yeah,
times, we
yeah.
must always
We gotta
remember
gotta
that.
get sustenance.
It's very important.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah,
I'm back.
You good?
So,
You good?
so basically, I think the first thing was the Ron Artest deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, right? Then the second thing was probably the World Star thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then um, I want to say then it was like expanding and making like multiple divisions, and then like it's everywhere now, right? And then the next thing after that was like the league competition thing. We have different styles of leagues popping up, and people are like choosing sides. Like watching culmination of all this shit was just crazy, and it's especially because like I was calling a lot of it before it happened, so I knew I wasn't crazy. You ever like
Yeah,
have an idea and people are like, "Man, shut up," and then you see it
yes,
happen, and you're like, "All right, at least I know I'm not crazy. At least I
yeah,
know what I'm."
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And then the Jay-Z thing happened after the right after the Lux and Calico battle. The "You Gonna Get This Work" when he tweeted it, and it was crazy because there was an interview. I'll never forget this. It was an interview with Young Guru, and they were like, "Yo, tell us something about Jay Z that we wouldn't know." And he's like, "Yo, he watches every cipher, every battle rap, like every nerdy hip hop thing online, and like he be running around the house like, 'Yo, Beyonce, did you hear this shit? That shit was crazy.'" You know what I mean? And I was like, "Yo, that's," and I was
buddy,
like, "Yo, he
that shit.
probably know a whole bunch of us." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it was like, damn, like, and I think that the last huge realization that kind of like came from that was like, "Yo, everybody is watching."
Everybody's watching facts. Yeah.
You know what I'm
That's a huge
saying? And
fact.
then yeah, that's when I realized, and that's why like I like now I'm trying to get out of it, and that's why I was saying like Flacco knows that like I have a different persona on camera than I might like in real life, it's because I was always hyper aware of everybody watching. It's like you don't want to say the wrong thing. But now we're in this era of like people buy into you more than they buy into whatever you're selling.
Yeah,
Yes, preach
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Woo!
yeah, yeah.
So
People
that's
want to.
why,
People want you to be exactly who you are nowadays.
right? That's why Cardi B can be the biggest rapper ever, because we
Yeah.
all just like her personality. You know what I'm saying? That's how she can
No,
go from
let me tell
stripping
you
to
something.
rapping.
In the middle
Yeah,
of this, I've been telling people that New York is gonna take the fuck off in this era because
yeah,
New York is drowning with just people with just bursting with personality. That is just like all you gotta do is just put a camera on them, let them get on Twitch, and I promise you, people will watch in
We do.
that you'll just be like, what? Why is this person? It's just like that's that New York shit.
Yo,
Like
he says this,
it's
but he goes live on Sundays, honestly, and they sit in a bar and they talk like New Yorkers. And I know it's weird to say, but I'm like I can't go anywhere, but I've never really like watched like New York people like just talk like so naturally without like anything. And it's like, then we talk to them. So we have this like, this interaction where we can ask them questions and we're becoming friends with his squad of people in the bar just because it's where we hang out now Sunday evenings and shit, you know. So
yeah,
it's like it's a cool thing to watch, like so many the personalities of just the regular people that Flacco is just like, yo, y'all would be great on Twitch, let's do it, and then
these are
they
my
were.
friends
yeah,
that it's just like they're friends and then they're friends of friends, right? And some of them I don't even know, but like I'm just like, yeah, Skittle Cam, like they're wild. There's wild personality, you know. Like one of the people that's like one of the people that I did not think would be the best person on camera is just like, yo, she is golden, fam. I need her on cam every time, bro. Like she's already a part of the team. That I'm like, listen, I need you here next Sunday. I need you on time. She's always late, but it's all good, you know,
Yeah.
like
So like
because Mel's personality is just like, yo, but that's that New York shit. Like there's a lot of and in an era where people value like your personality just being unique, like New York will thrive. New York City specifically will thrive in that. And if the future is everybody just live streaming themselves and like people watching other people live their fucking lives and like that's like their favorite TV to watch, then in that environment, like I expect to see a lot of New Yorkers thriving.
but I also expect to see a lot of guys like DRECT thriving, and I don't
Yeah,
say that to
absolutely.
gas you up or
Yeah,
anything. Why? Because you're like a repository of fucking knowledge.
yeah.
Like like yo, it's a pleasure to talk to somebody like you. Here's one of the things that I noticed in all of your interviews and all the compliments about you. You were willing to talk to people on a reel and give constructive criticism that was meaningful and helpful beyond just pointless and vapid shit. You would take time and effort to travel everywhere to be involved with it and to share your knowledge as freely as possible as you could. And I thought that was the thing that made you the most legendary of all the things, to be honest with you. And that's where something like Twitch lets somebody like you really connect with an audience that probably didn't exist before.
right. Yeah, nah, that's actually dope, and I'm glad that you said that because I've been thinking about different like ends on Twitch, and it's like I feel like everybody is like, yo, Twitch is super video game heavy. And I'm like, no, there's other things on Twitch. It's kind of like you just have to learn how to use the tools on Twitch to kind of like
Facts.
um, reach and engage with your audience properly. So I kind of been looking for an end, but you're right, man. Maybe it's just me talking.
Yo, I
You know,
Yeah.
mean,
maybe
if
it's
you
just
ever want to
about a
have
bunch
like
of
a,
different
a
stuff.
more detailed version of that chat, we can talk. But nah, like even like Jay Smooth is on Twitch. I popped on to the end of one of his streams. Like, here's the thing: commentary YouTube moved to Twitch. That's what's happened. Anthony Fantano is now interviewing people on Twitch. They got 550 viewers at the same time. And so it's like it's kind of like we're at the inception point where the celebrities have arrived, and it's like I know it's gonna get harder soon. It's not gonna get harder yet. Now's
Yeah.
a great time because the
Well,
wave's
you know,
about to
it
come.
also might have the YouTube effect where a lot of people who might have only had 100 viewers at once are just going to be catching the back end of that influx of users. Because I feel like
Facts.
if 100 million new
That's what
people
I'm
coming to
saying.
Twitch,
Now's
they
a
might
great
be
time,
getting, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
but in six
Absolutely.
months, I don't know if it's a great time. And I
yeah.
think
No,
it's
no,
gonna go
I
that
got you.
fast. But
Yeah.
not like, cause but education content is king, and you know that because of YouTube and what they're pushing. Education content is fucking big. Video 40, 60 minute. People realized, it's not that people have short attention spans, it's that people are willing to watch a 5-hour video in 15-minute chunks, and nobody knew that before. But now there's hard data to support that the lengthier content doesn't really matter. It's really just about having good content. And I believe that the way that you structure things with your detail oriented, you're rolling it back and all of that, man, you can just go talk to people for fucking days and just answer
Appreciate
questions.
you. You know what's funny? I used to get a lot of slack from people I knew that were also content creators because they'd be like, just edit the shit down. And I used to be like you know how it is being a creator when you're like, no, I like this part. I don't want to chop this part. And I used to just leave my videos at like an hour plus. And I
Big
noticed that people
smart
would be
move.
like, when I saw this video was an hour, I was like, fuck that. But then I watched it anyway. Good shit. I was getting like a lot of comments like that, and I was like, and that was crazy how long. Like Joe Budden's podcast is the longest shit in the world. Oh
That's,
my
I
god!
mean, it depends, all of them,
Like,
because Nori sometimes goes for like, I've seen Nori interviews go for 4 hours, and
right?
I'll sit there for all that whole thing because
Yeah,
it's wild informative. That's part of what that's why I wanted to do this. That's why, like, where I just feel like, there's a bunch of us that have helped build the independent hip hop scene that
hmm
that will never get to sit at the table at Drink Champs. And we still got a story to tell as well that can benefit people. And like, it needs to be told, like, and like, everybody needs to be brought to the table. We need to be able to sit with everybody who like helped, and yeah, let me know too, Direct. Like, I got you. Like, I'm gonna start thinking about some other ideas too, like inside of just the you talking thing. You know what I mean? And I'll start shooting you some ideas because I don't know.
yeah. No, let's definitely back up. You know
Nah,
what I'm
but
saying?
it's like, it's just that like I saw this thing where somebody was talking to you in an interview in 2019, and their main point was there was nothing happening on battle rap on like Monday through Wednesday, which is weirdly coincidental for a conversation I had with Flacco off camera, which I was like, wow, Direct is teaching me stuff right over here from his interview back then. And it was a really riveting conversation that showed the power of an audience's willingness to be completely committed to a specific thing 7 days of the week. They don't need other
Mhm.
things. And I'm like, yo, I understand why doing this on battle rap night is maybe like, a weird thing to in the
But you
eyes of
know, you
us.
know what's crazy though is that I was like, just as a fan, just as things I'm a fan of, I always look to listen to new content to learn about it. Like when it comes to like NBA podcasts and shit like that,
Mhm.
like I listen to them like every night. And it's to the point where I have more than one saved because I want to listen to something different every day. And then I realized that like even though I might not be the average user or the average consumer, like there are other people that want to consume more than what's viewed as the regular amount of content. So I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, they're gonna if you're not consistent, then they're gonna find somebody else. You know
Yeah.
what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Yeah, no, and I
Our
I agree.
consistency is
That's
key.
something that Holden and Paulie Hustle. You remember Paulie Hustle, Direct? Like,
Yeah,
he, that's like, that's my partner, the homie, for life. So like, I always consult him about everything. He was saying the same, echoing the same thing Holden's saying, which is the same thing you saying. Like, the consistency is like super key too. And me and Holden have just been having conversations off cam where I'm just like expressing like, I think maybe we should switch days. But another talk for another time.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you, Direct, like, because we were talking also, like, when we were talking with Cortez, like I was telling him, like, yo, there's something that like we should be proud of in what we did, and like you especially, you know what I mean? Like, because you really, like, with what you did with Grind Time, with coming up with that idea, right? Like, that's literally the system that URL is built off of,
right.
like the same
It's not
exact
even.
system, and the way that the format, all the things that we did, but like none of that would have happened if you didn't, like you were saying earlier, act and do instead of just thinking and thinking,
Mhm.
and like, and you did it. And thanks to you doing it, like, there's now a whole industry, right? Like, there's an industry now. And like, there's young cats that are like feeding their families, off of battle rap we built an industry where the music industry didn't want to give us anything. When there was no lane for us, when there was no nothing for us in the music industry, and they were like, we're not hiring right now, like we're all full up over here, like we were the outcasts, and like we like the lane got created, but like you are like a real pioneer in that lane being created, regardless of WRC's existing beforehand, regardless of everything that did exist beforehand. If you didn't do the actions that you did with Grind Time, right? Like this might not be exactly the way that it is right now, So like be proud and like thank you for those contributions, because like if it wasn't for you doing that, I wouldn't have the platform and the fans that I do have, like a lot of the fans that I gained, like I had people in New York City that they were in tune enough and they had heard things that I was doing, but like it wasn't nothing like the fan base that I was able to touch by doing Grind Time. You know what I mean? So like thank you for real.
I mean, to add to
that's really why I did it though. Even when it got annoying, when I didn't want to do the shit no more. Like people even ask me today, like, "Oh, you regret this not happening or not doing this like this?" I'm like, "But this is what I was in it for what Flacco just said." You know what I'm saying?
But just to add to that, looking at a rapgrid.com right now for somebody like me in my current life, it's like a Rosetta Stone. I don't know how else to put it, dude. And King of the Dots there. So I mean, that's dope. Because I mean, it means Canada. That's what I'm saying. Like it's like to me, it's cool to see that, right? Like as a Canadian, and so I really respect that. That's dope. And a lot of your stuff is Touch King of the Dot, which to me is dope. So I don't know.
You know what's crazy is that my brother said this to me one day. He was just like, "You got to learn how to reinvent yourself. Right? There's gonna come a time in your life you feel like you're just face to face with a wall, and in that moment, you're gonna have to know how to reinvent yourself using like whatever tools you have, And like I always, that's something that was said to me, kid, and I've heard different iterations of that to entrepreneurs and business courses and shit like that, podcasts. But like, I think that's the realest thing. Like, I know we didn't get in a rap grid, we can get into it next time, but like after Grind Time, like it was a wall. You got to reinvent yourself with rap grid. Now, like I'm reinventing myself with the craziest shit in my life right now that people don't know about yet. You know what I'm saying? So
that's the illest plug I've heard yet for like episode 2. Like I'm wild excited now. I'm like, yo, that ended like that was like a movie right there. That was like the trailer for part 2 is crazy, fam. When you hit that wall and you go past it and rap grid in that story, and it's just like, oh shit, dog, that's a motherfucking episode right there.
Yeah.
For real.
For real. No, this has been a pleasure. I know your time is coming up to the real end.
Absolute
So
pleasure.
we should probably wrap up then. And so, just thank you though. This was a gift for real. You taught us all a lot of stuff. You're very fascinating, and honestly, however many episodes it takes, we can get the whole story down. It would just be a
with
pleasure.
it. Whenever y'all want to put together episode 2, hit me up. Let me know.
I got you. I'm gonna hit you up.
By then. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna hit you this week with some ideas and dates.
So with all that said though, we also just want to make sure to thank the people that watched us live on all the different platforms. We want to thank End of the Week, because without End of the Week, this conversation wouldn't happen. We're on their Zoom. You got to make sure to follow End of the Week.
Yo, shout out to End of the Week. You know what I'm saying? I got a rep for the champions.
Facts.
And so we got to shout them out every single time. It's mad important because without them,
facts.
like this is the end of the week, time. So it's really important to say that. So make sure to follow and give love to them. Shout out Flacco Bale because he's the plug for everything magical in my life lately. Well, not all of it, but a good chunk of magic in my life. It's not to like discount myself, but gotta give flowers to everybody who does wonderful shit. And thank y'all for watching, because y'all watching in all the different places. I mean, it's a show, right? So having people there, seeing comments pop up on multiple platforms, it's invigorating to the soul and all that good shit. So thank you for reals. And it's been a pleasure to have you. I don't know if you have any like last words you want to impart off to the folks.
Hey man, just follow me on all platforms at DRECT. It's either DRECT DRECT or Direct Williams. If you type DRECT, I'm usually the first person to pop up. every social media platform. And yeah, man, I want everybody to do their knowledge, be great, and don't sleep on their opportunities and just follow through. You follow through, everything will open up for you.
Fresh. I don't know how much time you
Facts.
have left, but I did have
Yeah,
one
shout out to
question.
Vanguard, and that Vanguard is my dude. Shout out to End of the
Shut
Week
up,
once
Shouts
again.
to
Vanguard.
Vanguard. Shouts to the
What
end of the
y'all,
week.
what y'all did at the
Shouts.
pyramid was, I love that shit as much as I loved all the shit I was talking about at the beginning of this video, and to be a part of that was huge.
If you have time for like one last question from the comments, it's from the homeboy Ishmael, and he's like the most ride
Yeah,
or die
yeah, yeah.
fan in the world.
All
He
right.
wants to know, what was your most memorable battle?
Mm.
Oh my god. Um, I hate this because my question, like anytime battle rap or hip hop, when someone asks me like, what was your favorite, it changes like every year. Um,
Pen hit me the other day and he showed me that Swave and Disaster reached 1 million. And I was
yeah,
just I was surprised by Penn caring about that, you know? Like, so yeah,
yeah.
please answer.
Oh my god. It's usually one I was there for. So there's a lot of amazing battles that I wasn't physically there.
Right.
But Jesus Christ. I mean Hollow and Charlie Clips was crazy. That was a good one. I really like that. You know what was a good one? And I can't say this is definitive. You might need that on part two also. I wasn't ready for the question, but I remember when Disaster
Okay.
battled No Can Do at this event called Grizzlemania 2.
Mm,
Like they had a lot of past shit with each other where like somebody almost got shot at an event and all this other shit happened. And they had battled twice already. This was like the end of the trilogy. They were both from LA and they both can write on a great level. They both can freestyle on a great level. And it was just like watching them two battle was this ultimate display where there was like a little bit of like you were there, Flacco? Grizzle too?
oh no, I wasn't there for it.
Oh,
I wasn't there for it. No, not in the
there was
building.
there was a there was like there was a tension in the room because everybody didn't know who was gonna win, but it also was like there was like an energy going through the room. It's
Yeah.
like the energy, like we all know energy is real, but like the
Yes, yes,
was
absolutely.
was
I think we
physically
know in battle rap more than most people know. And I think that the fans that have been lucky enough to be in the room for the like some of the sweetest moments in battle rap get to like feel it. And like I think that's what keeps everybody in battle rap kind of involved with battle rap. It's just that it's a different energy and like it's
if you go
inexplicable.
live is different. Like you know how many times I said I'm fucking tired of battle rap, then I went to an event and I was hyped again. But like, yeah,
Yo,
that
facts,
Disaster and No
That's just
Can
how
Do
you know you
was,
love it, though, right? That's the
yeah,
thing with, I think that's like a
facts.
thing with anything you're passionate about. I feel that way about live performances sometimes. I complain about them and then I go to the show and I'm like, yeah, I want to be here. This is so
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah,
And then I say shut up for a while and then whatever. But it's yours. It's just love. And I like that about I like your just raw passion. I think that's a great way to put it.
yeah, man. Yeah, man. Well, once again, I appreciate y'all for the conversation. It was definitely different, but it's this type of conversation I have in real life with my friends, so it was good to have this on camera.
That's not cool. That's what we're
Yeah.
trying to do
Mhm.
here because again, it's like to me, this is the most interesting stuff in the world is to learn about who you are, you know?
Right.
And that's dope that you live up to like all this crazy shit. Like you're just so interesting. Anyway, I could just say that 17 more times. That's not all that interesting.
What, yo, you know what? You got anything you want us to ask Lush about? Lush is gonna be on next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Or
man. Um, give me 10 seconds. Hold on. Cause
Nah, all good.
Me and Lush
There's a
done
lot
been
of
all over the
history,
fucking
man.
world together.
I didn't even know. You know what? That made so much sense. The fact that I didn't even get to talk about the fact that like you made that list early and
Hmm.
you on the forum, that shows me where you were wild ahead and thinking smart because that's what what got grind time popping at the beginning was all that ranking. Like, boy, you ain't gonna find nothing that puts a fire under a broke rapper's ass like a
Like
motherfucking
ranking.
list. And them not
Yeah,
being number one on it. Let me tell you
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
That
Hell yeah.
is That is genius, sir. That you didn't even probably realize at the time. Like
that's where the term top tier.
You were just doing your own list. You were just being like, "Yo, this is what the way I see things. This is my listing."
That's where the term top tier came from. Because I put out a list in the beginning stages of grind time. I put top tier, middle tier, bottom tier. Yeah. And like everyone that was on the bottom was mad as shit.
Mad as shit.
But people like, fuck the $500. Like, I want to be top tier. And that shit, you know, they use that term today still. But I actually have the graphic where that I made. I found it before MySpace got fucked up. I found the graphic. So I'll text that to you, Flacco. But yeah, just ask Lush about the beginning days when me and him was on the phone, and like when we were actively deciding like yo, when we set up that first daylight battle against Locksmith, it was like, who's gonna fill this slot? All right. Do they understand how their life is gonna change after they do this? Or are they willing to go forward with it? You know what I'm saying? Does this style match up perfectly? Like, just ask them about those first few events and us being on the phone and like actually deciding like who gets the opportunity and who doesn't. This is why you gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta cultivate these relationships with people. You don't want to block your blessings by being an asshole to somebody. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of battles that's like, we could have picked this dude, but we didn't because he did this. And, you know what I'm saying? People don't even know to this day. You know what I mean? But just ask him about that, because I think he'll give you some good insight on that type of stuff.
Word. Bless, I will.
Amazing, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I appreciate it still. And you like right at the end, more knowledge nuggets, like packing them in at the fucking last minutes. Fuck, man. That's some big blessings. All right, well, I appreciate you here. I don't want to waste more of your time. So I guess at the end, live long and prosper, everybody.
What you know about the Vulcan death grip?
The what?
The Vulcan death grip.
He a Trekkie. Older than Trekkie.
Yo, big philosophies from it, man. I think Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future is the most appealing thing I've personally encountered that took into account everything I want, including holodecks, which I swear, if that's it, man. If holodecks,
he said including holodecks. Like, that's the deciding factor right
check a replicator, man. Yo, replicator, give me an ounce of the dankest shit. And then boom, the ounce of the dankest shit appears. Like, come on, that's just the best possible fucking future. I can't think of a better one.
It's litty, bro.
Anyway, I'm gonna start the raid on my side, and I appreciate you being here for reals.
No doubt, man. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
No doubt, yo. Flacco, hit me later.
I'm definitely gonna.
All right. Peace.
Be safe.
Take care.